Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 344th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Gabe Lewis, Ozzy Smith and Andy Patterson. We'll be going over all the action from the weekend, starting shortly with Alexander Usyk, Dimitri Bivol, Josh Warrington, bit of Matchroom Italy as well, Jay Harris, questions, Bellew the Weeks, guests, 2 guests for you, all the stuff for next week. Do stick with us. Starting off with Usyk against Chaz Witherspoon. Physically, I thought Usyk looked a little bit heavier, obviously. He was a little bit ponderous early on against the bigger guy, but once he warmed up, got the jab going, put a bit of a spring in his step, he found the range and he started landing some good shots on a stationary guy. Now, Carlos Takam would have been a really interesting test because he would have brought so much more movement and energy, but that said, you can only beat what lies against the ropes in front of you, and to be fair to Chaz, he ain't no terrible Tim Witherspoon. But overall, Usyk, Andy, did what was expected. How did you see the fight?
It was okay, I suppose, considering the circumstances. As I say, I would be kind of thrown considering like the kind of response to the fight and that as well, because a lot of negativity and there's a lot of kind of positivity relating to the fight, which I found kind of weird because. To me, Usyk did what he always does, and he just boxed himself into the fight. Generally, I wouldn't say that he takes the first couple of rounds off and stuff like that, but he's always kind of classed as a kind of slow starter. I just kind of think some people expect him to kind of come out there and ice that guy, probably much like what he did with Bellew. For me, the year off, the surgery, the opponent situation isn't great, and as I say, with the negativity going about in that as well, even if that was Tyrone Spong in the ring there last night, I think we still have the same negative comments and stuff because Spong ain't great and Witherspoon was awful as well. We've got to be honest about that. But the positives for me was you've got a guy here, Usyk, who is 15 pounds heavier. He's moving like he did as a cruiserweight. He's got abundance of stamina still. He was on the front foot. And he wasn't a safety. He was willing to kind of step in at times and that as well. At times, he was looking to catch shots and stuff. I was impressed with his movement, his engine. And in the end, he kind of got the guy to quit. Obviously, the other negative side is obviously, we knew this anyway, that was his lack of power. I think he hits hard enough, but probably not enough to kind of ice opponents. I mean, Fury's not a big hitter. People always going about that. Joshua gets criticised because he doesn't flatline opponents like Wilder, for example. But Usyk's going to be an interesting, appetizer to the heavyweight division. He's a very welcome addition, I will say, because I did say, some people will say the heavyweight division is okay and it's quite active and stuff. To me, I still think it lacks a wee bit of depth, especially around about the kind of like top level. I think you've got like 4 or 5 top level fighters, and then you've got the kind of like also rans. For Usyk next, I just says to a couple of boys on Twitter and that probably Parker, Pulev, or maybe a rematch with Hunter next if they can't get a title fight. That'll be the top 3 opponents I'd like to see next. They say I don't know if it's a standard thing because Usyk is this elite fighter, and unless he comes out there and absolutely obliterates his opponents and stuff, it's probably classed as a bad night. Lomachenko got kind of like bad reviews for his last fight and that as well, looking a bit mortal and all that sort of stuff. So again, it'll please some people and it'll probably piss off a few others. For me though, I was happy to see him back in the ring as a fan. As I say, the opponent wasn't great. He worked on what he wanted to do, and to be honest, he did what he always does, and he was Alexander Usyk, who basically breaks down his opponents. If a stoppage comes, it comes, or he wins on points and stuff. As I say, if it wasn't for Spong, as I say, failing that drugs test, which to be honest doesn't really matter to me because he was a shit opponent. Witherspoon was an even worse standing. But as I say, regardless, it would have been the same conversation we're having at the minute if it had been Spong rather than Witherspoon. Takam fight as well. Well, what I will say about this though is, Takam, remember people, was criticised as a late replacement for Anthony Joshua, but now all of a sudden he is like, he's okay for Alexander Usyk. So I'm just saying, as a bit of perspective in that, especially maybe the Joshua fans want to kind of go in heavy there and that as well. It's a wee bit of perspective there as well. I would like to have seen Takam, maybe like Povetkin in that as well, but what's Povetkin got left? He's what, probably good for 3 or 4 rounds, and then he's out of gas. He's 40-year-old. What ambitions has he got left and stuff like that. So That says Pulev, Parker, or Michael Hunter rematch next for me. I would think would be reasonable opponents for Usyk next.
Yeah, some good options laid out from Andy there. I think Usyk will obviously find life tougher at heavyweight, especially against the bigger guys with the bigger punches, the larger frames, more durability. They'll be able to soak up Usyk's arm punches early on a lot better, but I thought he did absolutely fine. To be honest, Gabe, I don't know what you saw. Dan Raphael was tweeting that they had just over 9,000 people in attendance, so everybody seemed to enjoy it. It was a standing opponent in place of a standing opponent, I suppose, of sorts. He was marginally more known than Spong, probably because of his surname, because his dad was an excellent fighter. Usyk did exactly what he needed to do, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with the performance from what I saw, Gabe.
Yeah, he started slow like he always does, which is a little bit of a bore. I mean, in the long run, I don't think he did anything tremendous. I did think he got caught a little bit whenever earlier in the fight, whenever Witherspoon was able to weather some of those punches that he was landing early and kind of fire back at him, which won't be able to happen later on. Because if he's facing a guy that's got a little bit bigger punch, then that could go really badly for him. Early on, there was a few spots where Witherspoon ate a few punches and would go right back at him. So I think what you saw was kind of the average, what he did in the cruiserweight level. And not to say that he won't do well as a heavyweight, but I don't think that kind of stuff's going to work. So I don't know what I'd like to see change from him, but I feel like if he continually fights that way, I don't know how viable he's going to be as a top heavyweight. It's still very early for him as a heavyweight, so I think there's a lot of room for improvement. But I think that his style maybe not really well suited for the upper level contenders, because some people are going to eat his punches, and it's going to happen. And how is he going to deal with it whenever they do that? So I'm just kind of where I'm at right now.
Great stuff, Gabe. Thanks very much there. We'll come back to you shortly. Before we do so, we have our first guest of the evening on the line. Delighted to welcome Carl Greaves. How are you, Carl?
How you doing, Steve? Okay.
Not too bad at all. We're just talking about Usyk there. He was in action last night, as was Josh Warrington. Did you manage to catch any of the weekend's action?
Yeah, not live, but I've watched him today. I had a look back on him, and I was very impressed with both of them, to be honest.
Usyk obviously moving up to heavyweight for the first time. Just easing into the weight, do you think?
Yeah, I thought he boxed very well. Very patient, picked his shots well. Broke Witherspoon up gradually, and then they pulled him out. They did the right thing in the corner because he was spent. I mean, the corner knew it. He'd had enough. He sat and he slumped on his stool, and he'd had enough. So I thought it was a good job for Usyk, and a great addition to the heavyweight division.
Absolutely, just bringing things a little closer to home on the Josh Warrington undercard. Zelfa Barrett beat Jordan McCarthy, a fight between a past and a potential future opponent for your man Sam Bone.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Carl, I can hear you. What do you think about Zelfa Barrett against Sam Bone in the future? Is that something you'd be looking at, possibly?
Yeah, it's a good fight, it's a very good fight. Both similar stages. I mean, obviously Sam's British champion, he's WBO Intercontinental champion. He hasn't been as active as we wanted through injury and obviously a few little setbacks, but we'll be back on track in November. We need to get Kakachi out of the way, so I mean, obviously talking about the likes of Zelfa and Archie Sharp is a bit premature at the minute, but because obviously Kakachi is a very dangerous fighter, he's a mandatory challenger. He's 17 and 1, only lost to Martin Warren on a split decision, so we're taking Kakachi very serious, and I think then we can start looking at the likes of Barrett and Archie Sharp, and obviously hopefully we can be the top of the pack in Frank Warren's stable and try and push on for a world title and for the WBO world title.
Absolutely. Kakachi's from Belfast. You're fighting him in Birmingham on November the 30th. There's been for a few reasons. This matchup seems to have been a little bit of a while in the making.
Yeah, it's been a bit frustrating. I mean, obviously through dates, and then obviously Sam got injured. We finally got a date in Belfast and Sam got injured. And then obviously we was waiting on a rescheduled date, and It's just been long. I mean, Frank struggled to get us a date because obviously TV and what have you, but he's finally got his one in Birmingham, which is only like 15 miles from Sam's home. He's close to Birmingham, and he's Leicester now. He lives in Nuneaton, so he's over the moon that it's happening in Birmingham. And like you say, we need to get this fight out of the way and move on. Really, I mean, it's been on and off, and we just need to put this to bed and finally move on, and hopefully beat Kikache, get one more defence, a voluntary defence of the British, and then we can win that outright, and then push on with the WBO. And like I say, Sam's about, is he number 8 or something with the WBO? So that's something we want to push on with then.
Just to remind the listeners, Carl Greaves on the call, at Carl Greaves Pro over on Twitter. Shout out to one of our former guests, Carl, Craig Derbyshire, boxes on October the 26th for the English Super Flyweight title on a Steve Wood show. For a change, Craig is going to be in the home corner for this one.
Yeah, it's very exciting, isn't it? I mean, like he's been the away fighter the whole career. He's won 2 area titles on the road. He's won the English title on the road, and it's a great story, really. I mean, Craig's hard as nails. He's from the MMA scene. He's a tough kid. And at the start, he was just very tough and durable. But now he's getting a bit of boxing ability about him. I mean, he's trained Niall Arman's done a great job with him. And his last fight, I mean, his jab was fantastic. And he shocked us all, really. And obviously did a number. So we're looking forward to getting an home fight. Thanks to Steve Wood, he's putting them on in the home corner in Hull, which isn't too far from where Craig lives. Hopefully his ticket sales is going to go up and up now because he's getting popular and people's looked at his story and really getting behind him. So he's got Marcel Braithwaite, who actually is a Steve Wood fighter, but we're going to be the home fighter with the champion, and we're really excited about it.
Just before we talk about David Avanesian, you've made a few new signings recently. Tell us who you've got, Carl.
Yeah, I've made a few. I've got off the time that many. I forgot, to be honest, but I get coming to me all the time. But yeah, you know what? At the top of my head, I forgot.
What about Ellis Machin? What's Ellis Machin up to at the moment?
Ellis Machin, and Stanley Stan. I just signed Stanley Stan, really good amateur. Excited about him. He's making his debut on Saturday. Ellis Machin there, the heavyweight. Last time we got a draw with Josh Sandlin. He was ill with that fight, a bit disappointing, but he come back with a good win against Butch Goldhorn, and he's boxing again November the 2nd. So I've got plenty of good fights coming through. Luke Fisher, Brad Dawes, Levi Giles. I'm really excited about the future of my stable, and it's getting stronger and stronger. And and the good thing about it, I've been involved in every single fight. I've had a champion of every single category, from area to English, British, Commonwealth, European, Intercontinental, International, and obviously world champion with David in the past. So I'm really pleased how things are going.
So 6 months after going over to Spain and knocking out the beast, David Avanesian went back to the scene of the crime, smashed him in a round. You must have been buzzing with how that rematch played out. Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. Couldn't ask for it to go any better, really. I mean, went over there, it was a little bit daunting again. I mean, you got 10,000 Bilbao fans all shouting, and on top here, it's a bit daunting, really. But David's very, very calm, cool and collective. He's very patient, and just went out there and did a number on him. But I was confident with the rematch because I really believe that Kerman's not a welterweight. I think he struggles with the weight, and I just looked at him on the scales and I thought, you know what, we've got this. And they were saying all the right things in the lead up to it, saying that Kerman took David for granted last time, overlooked him, didn't do the work he could have done, and just expected to blast through David because of obviously David had 1 or 2 hiccups on the way to that fight, but he bounced back in fantastic style and did a number on him now, and then went back and did it again. So we're really pleased, and let's just see what Neil Marsh, David's manager, can pull out of the bag now and see what happens. I mean, I know Josh Kelly's manager for the European. He goes out to Perspid soon. Will that fight happen? I don't know, but we're in a good position. We're not running from nobody, and if it happens, it happens. But David's coming on leaps and bounds. I mean, people thought he would finished after the Kowalski defeat, but he's proved that he's still a major player, and there's no reason why he can't go on and challenge for another world title.
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to ask you about Josh Kelly. People are talking about him. I mean, you've more or less said it there yourself. If the opportunity comes up, you definitely take it, as you would have done the first time.
Yeah, I mean, can imagine how we felt. I mean, a few hours before the fight, I mean, we'd done a big training camp. I mean, it's like David lives in Russia. He comes over and trains with me. We spent a lot of money on the camp, and he worked really hard, and he was firing. He was looking very, very good. And then a few hours before the contest, we get the news that Kelly's pulled out. I mean, you can imagine how we felt. I mean, obviously it was sickening, and near Christmas as well. And David never got paid a lot of money for obviously what happened, and it was very frustrating. I mean, it was sad, really. I mean, and so I know it was Kelly or not. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out. But he just disappeared, vanished, and that was all we was told. He'd pulled out. I mean, you can imagine how we felt. It's not very good. So, do we want to give him another chance? We'll have to if we keep the European, and he's mandatory and he wants to take the fight. But if it happens, it happens. But we're not bothered. We've got the title, and we're in a better position now. So we'll see.
Final couple of questions for you, Carl, just before I ask about Dex Spellman. Just sticking to David Avinesi, and Amir Khan's name has been mentioned in the past as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a deal done for that fight. I mean, a lot of people's not aware because we didn't really shout it out there, but he was meant to fight Amir in Saudi Arabia. The deal was sort of like done. Neil was waiting on the contract. He never got sent. So, I mean, the money, everything was agreed. We was told it was happening. We was getting David prepared to come over and start camp, and then he never sent the contract, so that was another frustrating part. So, as you can imagine, it's been very frustrating for David. So, going over to Bilbao twice and doing a number on a good fighter, he's put us in a better position now. And like you say, I mean, David works hard. He's a clean living lad. He's dedicated, and he just deserves everything he gets.
Certainly does. Just finally then, Dex Spellman had a great scrap with Shakan Pitters on the 14th of September. English light heavyweight title. It was a rematch of that Ultimate Boxer fight, but it just didn't go Dex's way again, did it?
No, it was frustrating. I mean, it was a fight we didn't have to take. It was a voluntary defence, and people said to me, "Go out, it's a bit of a silly defence to have for a voluntary." But if we won that fight, we had a chance of going the golden contract. MTK's put on. And obviously it was on BT Sport, it was a big platform, and the bottom line is Dex really fancied it. He just believed he could beat Shakan over the distance, and we had moments. I mean, he shook Shakan to his boots a few times, just couldn't quite. He was one punch away from ending the contest. It was a fantastic fight, and both kids. I mean, what a great advert for boxing. I mean, they both worked really hard. I mean, they only had 5 weeks' notice because the fight got put forward to September the 14th from September the 27th. So the preparation was not ideal. We had to rush a lot of things, and things could have been better. But it was the same for both of them. No excuses. But I mean, obviously we're giving Shakan the chance as a voluntary. We've got a rematch clause there, but I mean, Shakan's just been nominated to fight Richards now for the British title, so we're going to be deciding what we're going to do now. I mean, we're going to put pressure on Shakan to vacate because obviously we had an option on him, so we'll see what happens. I'll speak with him over this week.
Lovely job. Pleasure as always, Carl. Thanks for giving up your time and joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Top man. Cheers.
All the best. Bye now, Carl.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
At Carl Greaves Pro over on Twitter. Could have asked him a few more questions, but we're going to have to move on. I have another guest coming on very shortly. Rob Kelly's joined us as well. Want to get the thoughts of the boys, Ozzy and Gabe, before we hit up our next person. Gabe, a good man for jumping aside there to let Carl on the call. I cut you off in your prime there. Maybe not Chaz Witherspoon. I think his prime's come and gone, hasn't it? What were you going to say before you stepped aside there, Gabe, on Usyk against Witherspoon?
Yeah, I was just kind of talking about what I was thinking of seeing in the future from Usyk because, I mean, that's not what is it really going to show us besides the fact that what kind of weight he's looking at coming in, how his reflexes and stuff look decently at a relatively unpushed pace, a pace that's not dictated by someone other than him. I think there's some room there for him to grow. What I was really thinking though while I was watching the fight was that I think it's going to be interesting as he progresses, because I think he's going to have to at some point sit down more on his punches and stop moving as much. And certain guys are going to be able to have the reflexes to counteract that. So I really think that it's going to be interesting to see how his career shakes out at heavyweight.
Yep. Sorry, Gabe. Let me just turn myself up there so everybody can hear me. Would help, wouldn't it? Ozzy. Yeah, I had a question for you. I don't know where it's gone. Yeah, I was gonna throw in a point actually regarding Usyk. I think there was like a sparring vibe at times, which is not necessarily a bad thing. He used the fight as an opportunity to feel out the heavier man, see what was working, because we know there'll be bigger tests. So why not take this opportunity to get used to the pace, get used to feeling the strength of a bigger guy, and working things out. Where do you stand on Usyk's performance?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was not what was expected. I mean, I think it's fair to say that you wouldn't be wrong in thinking that with a guy on, a week's notice, you'd expect him to go and blast him out of there. But he really isn't that sort of fighter. I wonder if he'd have perhaps, just applied a bit more pressure to Witherspoon and, in terms of like closing the distance and things like that. He may well have got him out of there earlier. I mean, Witherspoon was shattered come the end of it. But I thought it was pretty solid, to be honest. Look, it's not a step up in terms of like an opponent, like ability-wise, but for weight, he was getting hit by somebody who was I think he was 3 stone heavier than him or something like that, 2.5 stone heavier. So it can make a difference. And look, he did get hit, and he's going to get hit harder than people who, compared to people who hit like Witherspoon. That saying, it was what it was. He got him out of there. He clearly hasn't lost any, the movement, the speed, which will cause problems for people. And I think it's fair to say that he will raise his performance compared to the level of the fighter. We see Tyson Fury do that, and I think we'll see Alexander Usyk do that as well. The guy has got ability, and it's a welcomed addition. There's talk that he's going to be fighting for a world title next. He's obviously got that excellent position with the WBO from where he's been upgrading. He clicks his fingers and he can call that a fight for the WBO belt pretty much whenever he wants. So I think he'll see out the winner of Ruiz and Joshua and then perhaps call the WBO manager straight away. And then it's going to be interesting. Like I say, it's a brilliant addition. One that I thoroughly enjoyed, that I can't wait to see, because one thing's for sure, he's not going to duck anybody, whether it's Wilder, Joshua, Fury, he'll fight any of them.
Rob, welcome to the call. How are you sounding? You in the field? Evan Fields?
I'm on the streets. I'm like O'Hara Davies tonight. I've one foot in the industry, one foot in the streets. Let's save that one for value of the week. What a dickhead. 1 foot in the streets.
The streets of Wexford are a safer place with rapping Rob Kelly.
Patrolling the seas.
Go ahead, Rob. Sorry, there's a slight delay.
Yeah, I saw pretty much everything. Where do you want to start? Usyk?
Yeah, start with Usyk. I don't want to put any pressure on Usyk, so rate Usyk's heavyweight reign against Evander Holyfield's heavyweight reign.
Oh, Jesus. Look, I thought it was a solid enough out, and I don't know what people were expecting from Usyk. If you haven't seen him before, he pretty much didn't do anything different than he normally does. Brilliant movement, good on the jab, kind of puts you where he wants you. That's what people don't really see with him as well. He manoeuvres fighters into positions that he wants them to be in. And he kind of was doing that all night. Chaz Witherspoon, late replacement, kind of didn't do anything wrong from his point of view. He put up a good enough show. Probably could have done with a long camp. Didn't look in great shape. But I don't know if there's much you can tell from Usyk. He's obviously, his catchphrase is I am very feel. And it looked like he was very, very feeling his way around there last night. Just going through the gears, not really. Usyk has just unified the cruiserweight title and defended it. Like, is he really going to be up for fighting Chaz Witherspoon, late replacement? The only thing in that is don't get beaten, don't look bad, and try and get him out of there if you can. And he did all of those, didn't he? He ticked all the boxes. So I think Oz is right as well. Like, he's going to look better against better guys. He's not going to duck anybody. And technically, I know he's a little bit smaller than the big four or the big three. I'd fancy him to beat Dillian White fairly handily, actually. And the other, I'd say I'd probably fancy him against Joshua too, depending on what Joshua looks like against Ruiz. Don't know about the Ruiz one, and Fury and Wilder. Maybe they're just a little bit too big, but you wouldn't rule him out against anybody, and he'd give anyone a fight. So I'm excited to see him at heavyweight and see how he's going to progress. Needs to be active now. Need to get him out. They need to get him in front of the cameras as much as possible, because he is a bit of a character, and once his English improves, I think we're going to see more and more of that. He is a bit of a lovable rogue, so I like Usyk. Not really I saw a lot of Americans detracting from his performance last night, but I don't know what they're expecting. You never watched him fight before. That's kind of how he fights all the time. So I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if he win hearts and minds. Eastern European fighters like Golovkin, Lomachenko haven't they are and they aren't. Kind of like they're very well known in boxing circles, and then outside of boxing circles, they draw somewhat the casuals in. Lomachenko more so because of his style, but I don't know if Usyk is going to be a crossover star, but he's definitely going to be a solid operator and a high level heavyweight for sure.
Very much, Rob. Delighted to have our second guest of the evening on the call. It's Al Siesta. How are you, Al?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We're just talking about Alexander Usyk there. Did you see it, Al? What did you make of it?
I haven't yet. Was away. I was in St. Petersburg looking at the venue because I have a show on 14th of November in St. Petersburg with Edward Troyanovsky, the guy who fought Kirill Relik in World Boxing Super Series. He is a main event at my event, so I went there to look at the venue, to take some measurements, to get the vibe in general. Really nice hotel. So I haven't seen it yet, but I've got it recorded. This is on my list to-do list.
Just in general then, regarding Usyk, he's going to be an exciting addition to the heavyweight division, you would expect?
Yes, I know him very well personally, and on sporting level, he's a great fighter. He's kind of Lomachenko-esque. He will grind you down. He will be fantastic addition. There are a couple of heavyweights that will probably cause him trouble, which is Andy Ruiz and Tyson Fury. Possibly Deontay Wilder, just for sheer wildness of it. But the rest, I can't really see causing any trouble to him. We'll be very excited. He's definitely a top 5 heavyweight at the moment already.
Certainly. We had Luther Clay on last week. Tell us about your relationship with Luther and how he's progressing in your eyes.
We've got a great relationship. I'd say more like father and son relationship, really, funny enough, because sometimes I see Luther more than my own children. I discovered him when he was about 18 years old. My trainer, Gennady Gordienko, the Russian guy I'm working with at our gym in Southampton, told me about him first time. He said there's a kid, slightly chubby, but looks really good. Looks like he's got good movement, good coordination. Slightly reminds me Adrian Bronner, the way he does his shadow boxing and the back work. And I came and had a look. I asked him if he's interested to collaborate with us. He said he will collaborate with us. He was a student. Don't remember, was it something like computer science or graphic design, something like this, something creative. He's a very intelligent kid outside the ring. So we started working. The progress within 6 months was very obvious. We sparred a few guys. He demonstrated that he's kind of ready to turn pro. And we had a debut 3 years ago. He's actually debuted on Myris Bredis' undercard when Bredis fought for the IBF title in Riga, because I was intensely promoting Myris Bredis at the time. So Luther from day dot had great opportunities to fight on big arenas, like 5,000 plus. And since then, just strength to strength. And I'm sorry, I took him to Georgia to my friend's show, and I had a conflict with the local federation at the time, and they said that it will backfire on me. But I didn't really understand what they meant before judges' scorecards on that event where Luther fought, and the wrong hand got raised, and it was disgusting. So that loss was a clear robbery, and I couldn't overturn the result because there wasn't anyone to complain to. It was a new commission. So we left it there, and I can tell you that one on his record, that one loss, really helps us when we're matching him. Otherwise, he would have been an unbeaten prospect, and no one would have been going anywhere near him. As you know what I mean.
Yes.
So now that's a false sense of security. That loss, which I'm kind of selling you a trade secret, but it's too late now because Luther already got the title, and now every fight is a title fight, so that becomes irrelevant, that information.
You mentioned there about Maris Bradis. What was your relationship with Maris? Was that a managerial relationship, promotional? What happened there?
It was everything. I was a manager, promoter. I took Maris when he was number 63 in Box Rec and took him all the way through all his title wins, like IBF Intercontinental, WBC Silver, mandatory WBC Eliminator, the World Title Championship, World Boxing Super Series, Mike Perez, Alexander Usyk. I was very instrumental in Bradis' career, and he was my inspiration. After Usyk defeat, we parted our ways. It was a bit bitter on my part because I took it very emotionally. And now I'm a bit thick-skinned, but at the time, we're talking about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, it almost like someone took kind of member of my family away from me. So I was a bit upset, but looking back at it, I kind of reacted on the wrong way because possibly if I wouldn't overreacted, we probably would have still been together now, you know. But it's no problem for me because I wish him all the best. Very talented. He fixed his hands. He had an operation, and you saw the demolition style on Gvozdyk. Because Bradis, what you saw with Usyk, that was a man with a broken hand. He had to use a ice bucket after every pad work. That's how bad it was, let alone fighting Usyk. If Bradis' hands would have been intact, he would have stopped Usyk. I can guarantee you that.
Well, you mentioned
that's how powerful he was at the time.
Yeah, you mentioned the Gvozdyk fight there. I don't know what you saw, but what about the way it ended and the way it was handled by the referee?
It was disgusting. It was terrible. Myers done the wrong thing with the elbow in Gvozdyk. He didn't need to do that because his level well beyond Gvozdyk, and I think if it would have been a clean fight, he still would have stopped him, but it caused massive controversy. And I know Krzysztof Gvozdyk and his team very well. They're close friends, and that was out of order. And I think Meyer is celebrating that fact afterwards in his like a challenge that, you know, this Coke bottle challenge. Did you see that on Twitter? He posted like Jason Statham. How do you pronounce it? It's Jason Statham, correct?
Yeah.
Statham, correct? Jason Statham. Do you remember that karate kick, taking the cork off the bottle?
Oh, yes.
And everyone had a challenge. Do you know what Bradis' challenge was?
What?
Elbow. I thought you'd seen it on Twitter.
No, I didn't see it. Do you think that was in bad taste? What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's what he did. That's how he celebrated it.
Ah, right.
Like everyone did, like Beeble did it, Usyk did it. Do you remember?
Like the kick with the bottle top,
exactly. Yeah. But Bradis' was with an elbow.
Right. Okay.
And I thought that was a bit cheeky, but what can you do? That's just his character, you know.
Absolutely.
He's a spiteful beast. He's an animal in the ring.
You need to be that way, though, don't you? Sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. He's a spiteful, dirty beast, and he's fantastically talented fighter. I mean, I reserve my judgment on his human qualities, but in the ring, he's one of the best I ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Al, tell me a little bit more about your background then. Obviously, Kyrgyzstan to Uzbekistan to Russia. You lived in a bit of a rough part of Moscow, some gangster territory, is that correct?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, 90s in Russia, it was really hard, and I grew up in South Moscow. It's one of the most notorious gangs were ruling that area, and I had a recording studio, which is a business, private business, and every private business used to be bombarded and racketeered by the thing, but I kind of had my own contacts, and I was like a semi-underground, semi-underworld relationship I had at the time. I was a young man. I was my early 20s, and this is the only way you could survive. I gained lots of contacts with people and stuff. But just as a musician at the time, I thought Russia was the wrong place for me to be due to political situation and what was on the streets. So I immigrated to UK to study further study music and playing bands and DJ. I just didn't like what's been happening in my country. Regardless, I could have survived there easily and probably gone to probably gangster route myself. That's not what I'm about. I'm an artist, and I'm an art man, creative individual. So that wasn't for me to waste my life that way, you know. So moved to England, and since then just been musician for a long time. But about 7-8 years ago, discovered boxing properly and made a career switch, which is very similar to music. And it was quite easy transition. And I love boxing, massive enthusiast, 24/7 business for me. There's nothing else I'm doing in my life apart from boxing full time. And I know I'm going to get better, and I've got good kind of objectives and aims for 2020. I've got really clear things which I want to achieve. And it's all there, really. Just it's all about hard work, and God give me health so I can continue, you know.
So you're based in Southampton now then, Al, yeah?
I am in Southampton, yes. I am in Southampton. Although I'm travelling, like I say, not 2/3, maybe 1/3 of my time, at least I'm on the road, you know. But my base is in Southampton, yes.
Just to remind our listeners, we have Al Siesta on the call, at Al_Siesta over on Twitter. Any other social media presences, Al?
Yes, I have Instagram, which is, I don't know it off by heart. You just type in Al Siesta and you find me. I'm kind of greeting people in the dark shadow with a cup of tea. That's my thing there, like my little avatar. I also have LinkedIn as well. It's just easy because Al Siesta, if you type in, probably is quite unique. So there's all information pretty much about me. And yeah, that's what it is. I mean, every social media, I'm on Twitter. I wish I would have used that tool much more intensely. Very recently, I have discovered how capable and effective Twitter is, because I completely neglected my Facebook's strong. I've got 5,000 followers, and I can't add any more. But my Twitter is a bit weak. But I could have built it, so this is my next incentive, you know.
Al, I'm conscious of your time, but I have a couple more questions for you, if that's okay.
No problem. Go ahead, man. No problem at all. I mean, I've got kids playing computer, and I really need to put them to bed. But I gave them a bit of time because I knew we were going to be speaking.
We'll give them a bit more. We'll give them a bit more time. Tell us about this show that was supposed to happen earlier in the year with Boxing Social. It didn't go down. What was the story on that?
Man, that's actually quite a disgusting story, and I tell you what it is. It was a very big television debut for me. In the UK, Boxing Social was the exclusive right holder, and they were showing that live on Boxing Social exclusively. In Europe, I had Fightbox HD, which is a very big fighting channel, and Viasat, Scandinavia, which is a very big network. Knowing for showing like Nordic fight nights and so on and so forth, and world title fights and different sports, ice hockey, basketball, go all across Scandinavia and Northern Europe, including France. I had a big debut on Viasat. They were paying good television rights. I had Russian Match TV, which is a big national network equivalent to ITV, free to view. I had Kazakhstan TV. So I had about 65 countries covered. I had very big debut. So show was fantastic. I had really good international card. Main event was Luther Clay fighting Meriton Karaja from Belgium, Albanian Belgium, and he had a bus with 120 people coming over to Bracknell to support him. But last minute, his visa got refused. So I got quick substitute in Ohio Kane from England. Ryan Barrett, a good friend of mine, provided this guy he was unbeaten at the time, and we were looking forward to that fight. So comes to the day of the event, everyone was there, like Dennis Gilmartin was a supervisor in British Boxing Board of Control Secretary, was there. Everyone, we were in 4-star hotel, Branch Hotel in Bracknell, having a rules meeting. Everyone was ready to go. Arena was set up. Beautiful camera work, like jet cranes, all the platforms, tiered seating, beautiful lighting, draping, fantastic. It was incredible looking arena. I was so happy. So come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the event was starting something like from 5. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, someone from the stewards of the British board said to me, "Where's security?" And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a really good question. Where is security? So for the legal reason, and I tell you, I cannot call you the name of the security firm because I expand on that a bit later. So I made them a call. They're not picking up. I gave a call another guy who was involved in organizing that. He didn't pick up. So you know, I was expecting 20 security guards, 20, not 10, 20, big security capacity.
Yeah.
None of them picked up the phone, so I got hold of one of them, and he said to me, Al, I'm really sorry, I'm on another job, I don't know what you're talking about, you need to call this guy. And he hangs up on me. So I thought, shit, it's going wrong.
Yeah.
Something's happening. First thing in my head, knowing the magnitude of what I'm doing, I've been sabotaged. This is the first thing in my head, you can imagine.
Yeah.
Because I do have people who try to prevent me from good activities. We all do in boxing. I mean, even Eddie Hearn has people who try to sabotage his stuff. I mean, let alone me as a much smaller promoter, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought, right, okay, someone trying to pull the fast one, sabotage my event, knowing that up-and-coming strong player. But anyway, let me try to find out what's going on. So I started to make calls. I reported to the British board. I reported to the local venue directorate, to the management. We all got on the blower, on the phone, started to call all security firms around Bracknell, tried to get people in. But it was so tight on time, and it became so nervous and erratic that we literally couldn't manage it. We couldn't get anybody. And eventually, British board made a conscious decision in conjunction with me and the venue management that we need to call the event off because we couldn't continue, that not a single security guard was there. So, you know, that day, it was the hottest summer day in the UK. It was 29 degrees at the time. So it was massive queue of people outside getting sweaty, baking on the sun, complaining why they can't come in. So it didn't go well at all when I went and announced that the show is off. I mean, it was some funny comments from people, but overall they were very understanding. It was a massive, devastating financial blow for me because the commitment, all the TV people, all the theatre decoration people, all the people who came to the show, I had to compensate without generating any profit, if you know what I mean. I sold about 1,300 tickets for that event. So I had to compensate everyone. It took me down by a very, very serious amount of money, very significant. So I chased the security firm later. They plead guilty and they apologized and they said that they really compensate me. We respect you. It's really sorry. It was a clerical error. We triple booked ourselves. We were working elsewhere. We will compensate you. Everything going to be okay. When I spoke to my lawyer said to me, listen to me, my son. You must understand something. This is Britain. The people are full of shit. They are talking shit. They know you're a nice guy. They know you like an honourable guy and want to do everything on a civil and amicable manner. They playing you. They try to stretch the time. If you'll be soft with them, they will not commit to anything, and they will try. Basically, they will stitch you up. Proceed with litigation now. And because I know these people, I know the security firm, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give them a chance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it went back and forth. We had few meetings. They gave me hugs and kisses, telling me how amazing I was and what a gentleman I was in not being horrible about this, trying to be civil. But when it really came to compensation, and I gave them the number which I needed, believe me, that was it's a few times lower than what they really took me to cleaners for. Can you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I gave them a very reasonable number, then few installments, and I wanted to take some part in services because I knew I will be doing more shows, so I thought maybe they can provide me free of charge services. And you know what? They became really difficult, very uncooperative, and silly, really silly and low, really embarrassing, I'm telling you. And because I'm a man of emotion, this time I held emotions together. I went to my lawyer, and I will be proceeding with litigation. And let me tell you this, that will be a very heavy blow for them, very heavy blow. They either will have to close down, which will be very bad for them because they are a very good firm, or they just will have to compensate me. That doesn't mean that I'm still not open to the offers.
Couple of quick ones, Al. What about Luther Clay against Conor Benn? A few people have mentioned that.
Luther Clay, I really fancied that fight before, but you know what? I rate Conor Benn because he's really developing. He can punch, that kid. and he's as vulnerable at the moment as Luther. But I do believe by the speed they go in and their profile, obviously Conor Benn well ahead as a fighter in terms of profile. He's got a great Reebok deal. He's with a major promoter in the UK. And but Luther will catch up on him. Next year, end of 2020, I think that could be a really big fight on the cards. They earn good money, and they could be headlining something. I mean, headlining next gen at least. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because Luther Clay, we've got an announcement to make very soon. He's, you'll see him on the major network again very soon.
Last one, Al, just regarding your Latvian connections. Obviously, whenever you've put on shows in Latvia, you've had good reputation, Artur Akavar, Isa Chaniev, these type of guys. But sometimes we see people calling into question the Latvian shows. You know, guys are building up their records. Are the wins legitimate? The title fights and that. What's your experience of the Latvian fight scene?
My experience is very different to everyone else. You know, I mean, sorry, this is not an immodest statement. Sorry, not an immodest statement.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interview, and I shared that interview to my father. There's a biggest trainer in Latvia. He called me a godfather of Latvian boxing. Funny. And the reason being, honestly, believe me, it was a wilderness before I came there with a very little finance trying to build my Iris Bridges. The biggest headliners that Latvia has at the moment are very cheap undercard fighters on my events. So I built them pretty much from scratch, and they're generating massive influence and interest to Latvian boxing overall. The momentum picked up so hard and so powerfully that we had World Boxing Super Series there, you know?
Yeah.
So you know what's going on there now. My relationship with Latvian boxing still exists. There is a group of people split onto love me or hating me, basically, because all the new promoters who came, they hate my name being mentioned as a founder of Latvian boxing and bringing big boxing scene to Latvia and making Bridges a world champion, putting them on the map. They don't like it because, I mean, they're probably emotionally shallow. So, you know, truth hurts. And I've got other ones who I worked together at the time who still remember those great times, our effort, and we're still collaborating. I am planning to come back to Latvia soon, but I just need a big enough event in order to go back there and make some noise again, you know?
Lovely job, Al. Thanks very much for coming on. I just will finish by saying that our live listeners are loving the chat and they're hoping you'll come on again in the future.
Thank you very much for having me. Guys, do what you're doing, and we need publicity, we need PR, we need deep conversations, and we need to build up a proper following in general. So I need outlet myself because I'm kind of man trapped in the cage, you know, with all these ideas. So I need... Use me more if you can.
Absolutely, Al. Thank you, sir.
God bless you guys.
All the best.
Thank you very
Bye-bye
much.
now.
Have a great the rest of Sunday. Yeah?
You too, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Al Siesta there, the godfather of Latvian boxing. I knew that was going to be good. I'd heard about Al. Yeah, liking that. It was Ben Faruqi actually who sorted Luther Clay out first of all, and then Rio. I said to Rio last week, can we get Al on? And he says, yeah, Al's a character, you should get him on. So glad we got him on. The chat are loving that. You enjoyed that, didn't you, Andy?
Yeah.
It was quality. That was absolutely quality.
Yep. Yeah, that was good. I like the insight he gave into the Luther Clay thing, by the way, when he said, you know, not right now. Like, let's, you know, you can see Connor's making some more money. Let's get him a bigger payday at the end of 2020.
It just shows, though, how good a sport boxing can be, is that it's just a case of send a couple of text messages and then you've got people like Al just willing to come on a Sunday night and talk for, God, what must that have been, 25 minutes? And it absolutely flew by. It just shows how good boxing can be for accessibility to, you know, like promoters, fighters, managers, etc. It's absolute quality.
Only if you're the elite pod of the Boxing Asylum, though, as obviously.
Yeah, true. And, yeah.
Not for some of these rinky-dink jobs, you know what I mean?
And when you've got head honcho Wellings at the helm, then
exactly. The fear factor alone gets those fucking interviews done.
Exactly.
It's Hell Führer Wellings, by the way. banning Tommy off the pod like that, by the way. Jesus Christ.
Why did you do that, Steve? Can we not get Tommy back? For fuck's sake, man.
Nah. Tommy's dead. I'm killing him off. One to the back of the head for him.
He's loving it in Thailand to do, by the way. He's loving it in Thailand to do. Honestly, at this very moment in time, I'm going to give a live commentary. Tommy Allen has actually just come out of a bar in Thailand, pissed as a fucking newt, with his bird on the back of a moped, fucking gas. Swaying, honestly, God, I've told him, I says, Tommy, you better have cash, mate. If you get stopped with the cops, pay him off and don't mention the king. Whatever he fucking do not say fuck the king or fuck the queen. Do not fucking do it. Fucking jail over there for that shit.
Oh man. Just tell him start singing Simply the Best to State.
I will join in there.
Oh man, brilliant. Tommy, yeah, he's loving life at the moment. It's good to see people happy, you know what I mean? But that's what happens. I'm the only one that fucking myself, Patterson, Wellings, Ozzy. You know what I mean? We don't let the birds weigh us down like that. You know, we're not like Kurt Ward and Tommy Allen. They get the bird and you never see him again. You know what I mean? Birds at home where he's supposed to be on a Sunday night. We're on the pod, and that's the way it's going to stay.
Real talk, baby.
Rob putting his foot down. I'll play that audio next time my missus kicks off. Get you hosting.
Yeah, it's easy to fucking say that from here.
Anybody want to talk about... I'll come and pick you up, Rob. I'll come and pick you up. Anybody want to talk about Dimitri Bivol? I know a few people seem to have been a bit underwhelmed by his performance against Lenin Castillo. I think that Bivol is just wired to fight a certain way. Personally, I actually love his movement. I love the way he's a natural guy, you know, moving in and out of range. He can hurt people when they open up, but he lacks that killer instinct. I think maybe, you know, more aggressive, harder punchers will probably be the perfect foil for him. Maybe pull him into a bit of a brawl. Your Kovalevs, your Beterbievs, your Gvozdyks. Does he need, guys, whoever wants to talk on this, a dance partner to bring out the best in him? Maybe Callum Johnson?
I don't know about opponents. To be honest, I never watched the fight. I watched Joe Smith in the Pascal fights. I thought the Pascal fight was really the chance for him to come out there and make a statement. The problem is, I agree with what you said, Steve. He's wired to fight a certain way. I'm sure he's still with his old amateur coach, and he's happy doing what he's doing. So he's going to win these fights until he gets like maybe a Beterbiev or whatever, someone to really make him work for it. But I just think maybe the ship sailed. But if he went to a different trainer, I believe you see different for him. But he's just happy to coast to points, victories and stuff. And really, I mean, come on, Chilemba, Pascal, Joe Smith, and that guy who I honestly I never even seen that guy before. So yeah, we need him in. The main fight's next week. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I agree with the two of you. I think his style is brilliant. I was very high on Bivol. I think it was after maybe the Agnew fight or something when he starched him, but he hadn't all knockouts in his when he was starting off. But these last 4 fights. And these were his coming out party supposed to be. Each one, you know, each time you're like Bivol going to go out and get the stoppage. And not that look, the fellas go through the whole career and they're not stopping everybody like Ward and everything. But when the opportunity presents itself, even to Andre Ward, who wasn't a heavy puncher, he takes it. Like Chad Dawson, like Kovalev, you know what I mean? When the opportunity is there, he sees it. And you're talking about killer instinct. He drops the guy last night in the 6th round, and your man's going down in installments. And any other fighter would have been thinking about getting over there and putting another one. And Bivol he looked at him for a second and he was on the way down. And then he made the move when he was already down and he was going to hit him again. If he'd have caught him again on the way down, the fight's over. So, he lacks the killer instinct, but he has all the style. And I think you guys are right. Like, it has to be the winner of Gvozdyk and Beterbiev. Like, has to be the winner of them two for him to get his. And then we're going to see what he's made of. Like, but he looks the biz. Like, but just pity doesn't let the hands go a little bit more often.
I think he's too small.
Yeah, Danny Young.
Yeah, we've said that before.
Yeah, I wonder could he make 68? Yeah, could he make 68?
It's a bit like Buatsi, isn't it? We've said that about Buatsi as well.
I said
mustn't be able to, otherwise he would. You would think.
Against... Castillo looked a weight division above last night. I thought that looked like an undersized opponent in terms of Bivol to Castillo last night. I think I'll be amazed if he can't make 168. I'll be amazed. But look, he's a more than worthy champion. But yeah, you've got to be looking at the winner of next week's fight between Gvozdyk and Beterbiev as a future opponent, if not next. I don't see why. I mean, Buatsi's got that WBA eliminator against, is it Is it Blake Capiero?
Yeah, I was going to say the Australian, aye.
Yeah, so it's not a final eliminator, but it's an eliminator. And look, I mean, yeah, if I can get you in the top 5 or something like that, top 10, then look, he's an opponent. And going off last night's performance, which I think was pretty underwhelming, to be honest, and we'll come on to it in a minute, but Josh Warrington did what he should have done to last night's opponent in a near enough punch perfect way. Bivol just didn't do that, and it can be performances like that unless you're the purist, they're boring for people. I mean, I think he got booed at the end of the fight, Bivol, off the crowd, and he was doing his interview and they were booing him. That's not a good look. You need to be going in there, and sometimes, like these opponents which aren't great, and just blasting them out of there. Get them in, get them out, and then move on to the next one, rather than going 12 rounds and things like that, and just somewhat like quite like underwhelming and disappointing overall, to be honest. So I think you either look at increasing the levels of opponents in terms of looking to unify next up, or you try and make 168 and see what you can do that way, and then look at coming back up to light heavyweight at the moment. Because if you were to put Callum Smith up against Bivol, I think he'd look massive. Smith would look huge compared to Bivol. So I think he needs to come down to 168, and that's putting Smith as. I mean, Smith's a light heavyweight who somehow gets down to 168. But yeah, for me, I think Bivol does need to make the step down and see how that affects him.
Yeah, the boys are talking about in the chat. Nothing for Something says content to box and win a decision. Danny Young thinks he might have regressed a little bit. I just think he's risk averse. He's very technically sound. Clearly someone who's been training non-stop from an early age. It's all ingrained in him, but his size means that he doesn't like to engage. You could even see Castillo's longer arms last night. They did tag him at times with hooks and jabs a little bit. So you would imagine someone like Callum Smith, as Ozzy said, would absolutely dwarf him. So I don't know if you have any opinions on that, Gabe. If you do, jump in. If not, perhaps you could fill us in on bad Chad Dawson on Friday night. He's back, baby. 8-round win over Denis Grachev. Got the WBC, USNBC light heavyweight title as well for his troubles. Bivol or Dawson, your pick, Gabe?
I'm not going to elaborate on Borval. I agree with the crowd booing. I don't like the guy. I said it last week in terms of his style just doesn't do anything for me. I mean, it's nothing that I just terribly dislike the guy. He doesn't do anything for me, and I'm glad I did not watch that bore last night, because I figured that's what it might turn out to be. I was kind of hoping that it would be exciting, but whenever I opened up and looked at Twitter and some of the other boxing stuff that's online, I just saw a bunch of nonsense. So I'll probably take a look at it at some point. Haven't watched it yet. Haven't found the Chad Dawson fight yet, but was interested to see how that one shook out. Did any of you guys catch it?
Nope.
Well, then, I'll be sure to be looking for that throughout the rest of the show and kind of see if I can give it a highlight look real quick and tell you what I saw. I was kind of surprised to see that Chad won the fight, especially since our conversation last week, about how his being out for so long and just being really inactive was problematic. But good play to him. If he got in there and won, maybe he can continue doing stuff. I mean, he was always a pretty skilled guy. He's just old and so inactive. I kind of hate to think what's going to happen now is, he's going to be trying to push for a big fight going down the road, especially since he won this one. So, and I think that's a bad deal. But maybe get him in there with Pascal, get another fight there, two washed-up guys, and that'd be good.
We're going to Aussie shortly on the Leeds show. Josh Warrington getting a knockout win over Mr. Takush. Before we do so, Friday evening, Rob, Matchroom Italy. Love a bit of Matchroom Italy, I know you do. Fabio Turchi, his unbeaten record is no more. Tommy McCarthy busted him up to the eye and got what I thought a deserved win. 115, yep. 113 was about right. I thought the referee was a bit of a disgrace, and I don't know why they were letting the corner man work on the eye before the doctor, but hey-ho, it's Italy.
Yeah, maybe someone was on the take. I don't know, but yeah, good for Big Tommy, man. We were saying last week we thought he could do it. When he puts it together, the new partnership there with.
Stop, man, fucking Tommy. This fucking, honest to God, this guy just posted on Facebook. He's just, him and Tommy, right? He says, "Me and my fiend."
What?
Me and my fiend. You meant to say friend.
me and my fiend. Live bulletin interruption there for update from Tommy Takes Thailand Part 2.
Oh, man. If he fucking films this piss out live, he can fucking die up there.
One Tommy to another.
The guru. Yeah, and not the Tommy, that's not the guru. Good on him. He had his night and he won a fringe title for himself in the mix. Looks like the partnership with Peter Taylor's paying off. So thought he put it together well on the night. Was good with the left hook, good with the jab, good following up with the right. Turkey came to fight, pushed him back at times, landed some shots of his own. All right, humdinger of a scrap, but it's good to see a fighter go away and get the right results, because you could easily see the judges in the hometown giving that 115, 113, and then where does Tommy go? You know what I mean? So we've had him on the pod. He's going to come on next week, I think, to talk about the win. But he's one of the guys that's had it the hard way, and hasn't had the same kind of start as some of the rest of them, and had a couple of L's and come back now. So he's put himself right back in the mix. So we'll see how far he can go with Pete, and hopefully he'll tell us a bit more about it next week.
Yep, looking forward to getting Tommy on next week. He's gone through a few trainers, a few managerial situations, but he's with Mark Dunlop. Shout out to Mark. I know that he's a friend of mine and all, but he's looked after Tommy well, got him opportunities, fitted him in there with Matchroom and what have you, and he puts his money in the pocket. It's a hobby for Mark, he doesn't need to do it, so he's done a great job for his fighters. Respect to him as well. Over in Leeds, Ozzy, before you go on to Warrington, tell me about the undercard. We talked about Barrett earlier, getting rid of Jordan McCorry. Respect to McCorry, he's got some balls on him, that fella, just keeps coming. Lyndon Arthur as well against a prison canteen regular, Mr. Aneem. And what's the pick of the undercard over in Leeds?
Zelfa Barrett was probably the standout in terms of the bigger fights. I thought he really impressed against Jordan McCorry. Didn't have it all his own way, being brutally honest, and did get tagged at times. But from suffering basically an upset defeat against Ronnie Clark, it's certainly not deterred him, and he's bounced back and put in another good display, building on what was probably his career best against Leon Woodstock last time out. His body punching was excellent, and it crippled McCorry, who's a good little fighter. He's better than his record suggests, and he's just a victim of being in the away corner. But fair play to Frank, he's looked after him, and whilst he's obviously been the away fighter, it's got him three probably decent paydays against the likes of Bowen, Sharp, and Barrett. And from those three, I think once they've got Bowen's got his fight out the way, fingers crossed he comes through against Kakachi. You'd love to see, if they can get another super feather involved and do some sort of tournament, boxy, like two semi-finals and then the winners box in the final, and you could even put the losers in with each other as well, because that's what we want to be seeing. I know Carl mentioned it before, but I know for a fact they are bang up for any of them. Particularly Sharp or Barrett, they'll happily take that in an absolute flash, and the great fights to look forward to. As for Lyndon Arthur, I was really disappointed, to be honest. I've heard good things. I've seen him spar with like Matty Askin a few years ago at the Jennings gym, and I felt he was a winner. I had him a point ahead, and it was the 12th round that won it for him. The cards were a disgrace to Aneem. He was 7-6-1, 7-1 going into the last round, so I put a tenner on that because I had it as a coin flip. Arthur, I think, dropped him in the 6th or 7th, and that was probably the difference. The rope saved Arthur from going down. But this is what happens when you go in with absolute tin cans for 14 fights, and then you have a step up. Look, this guy's he's not brilliant, but he's no mug. To be fair, he can hit hard. What was interesting watched, and he wasn't really going to be budged because he had he went over to Russia and got beat off. He lost on points against that Umar Salamov. Took some rounds off him as well, 4 rounds in it. So he's not, an absolute fool in terms of, like we saw Ebenezer Tete come over, who was just shit basically. But Lyndon Arthur will learn a hell of a lot from that. He probably got hit more last night than he has done his pro career, and he can only learn for it. I mean, they were talking him up in in terms of a big domestic fighter. I think he's got a lot to learn yet. I think a fight with Dex Spellman would be pretty good next up. Dex operated at a decent level, and it will be a good test for Lyndon. And look, you're only going to learn from fights like that. Aside from that, I mean, the rest of the card was pretty average, to be honest. A couple of fights fell away towards the back end of going into fight week. But shout out to Shabazz Massoud, looked absolutely superb. He was the opening fight on BT. If you haven't watched it yet, try and catch it. Loads to like about him. Natural switch hitter. I mean, he was levels above the opponent he was in with. But what do you expect, when you've had 5 fights? But loads to like about him. Very likeable style, quick. Doesn't look like he's got the power yet, but that could develop. I don't think he's the oldest of fighters, and look, Frank could have a real star on his hands there. And then we go up to the top of the show, and I mentioned it just before that Josh Warrington needed to do and basically put on an excellent display against this calibre of opponent, and he did that. This Takushi wasn't great. I think he's a former European champion, so he's not, in terms of complete fool. He was ranked 4 by the IBF. They tried to get a unification fight. It didn't work out. So look, they're keeping him busy. And I've nothing against that in a way. Look, you're never going to get an opponent that's going to please everybody. And you've got to get somebody in the top 10. And look, this guy's at 4, so we know what the rankings are worth. But if the IBF feel he's their 4th best, they don't rank 1 and 2, then go and get him. It kept him busy. You'd rather see that, than going stale and doing nothing and then having 6, 8, 10 months out the ring, because it doesn't do anything for anybody. But now I think the time is now to go looking for these unifications. I think a couple of the belts have been freed up with Santa Cruz and obviously Valdez moving up. I think Kanzu is the opponent they want. I think that's certainly doable. They'll look to probably bring him over here, which if they can do, it'll be a great fight for all the Leeds fans and Warrington. They'll probably pack out the arena or look to potentially put it at Ellen Road again. For whatever it is, I think Josh Warrington's probably exceeded expectations of everybody for when he first came on the scene, more so on Sky. I think it's fair to say that a lot of people saw him as just a ticket seller. And, he got opportunities from that. But look, he's exceeded expectations. He's continuing to impress. And I hope he goes and gets the unifications that he fully deserves. And he fully deserves the opportunity to go and look to unify the division.
Yeah, I wasn't fussed on Takush, as in I thought he was fine last night, giving him that opportunity, as we spoke last week, after 3 good wins in a row. I thought that was fair enough. Kanzu be an interesting one, because he has a couple of losses on the record, but he hasn't lost since 2014. He's on a rich vein of form. I watched his last fight, actually, against Shun Kubo. Got rid of him, looked pretty decent. Jesus Rojas, that was a good win as well for him, and he's down to fight Manny Robles III, 18-0 fighter. I'm assuming it's a relation of the trainer, Manny Robles, in the Fantasy Springs Casino WBA title on the line, so maybe Josh can unify with him if the stars align. But he's definitely at his prime, it has his peak now. So yeah, bigger fights, bigger names, says Danny in the chat. Frank Warren's done a good job with him, so fair play to him there. Just to remind everybody, we are on episode 344 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Who's on the call with us? We have Rapping Rob Kelly there, Ozzie Smith, Gabe Lewis and Andy Patterson. Live on mixler.com/Boxing Asylum from 8 o'clock on Sundays. The Patreon RSS feed as well shortly after. There's a slight delay on my line tonight. We're working through that as best we can. Upload it on Monday to Facebook, iTunes, YouTube, Soundcloud. Rate and review, all those things. Let's keep going, Andy. Josh Warrington, I made a bit of an amateur mistake last night. Been at work and I thought, I'm back at work today, I'm knackered. It's going to go 12 rounds in it. Got to the ring walks, got to Josh in the ring. Thomas Triber was giving him his announcements and everything. I sack it off and watch it in the morning. Then I looked at the result this morning, which I don't usually do. Banged him out of there. Fair play to Warrington. Andy, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I expected it to go rounds. To be honest, I was listening to last week's podcast. When was it? Monday or Tuesday or whatever it was. I never really made a prediction on it, so I'm not going to make a pick at afterwards and stuff like that. But I did think it would have went rounds. But as Ozzy mentioned, it's what you want as as a champion. I suppose this guy, he's never really kind of fought above European level, and he's not really had a lot of 12-round fights either. But Josh came out and just basically laid waste to the guy. One funny tweet that I did see, actually, did anybody see the one where he says he entered? What was the guy's name again? Actually, how do you pronounce it? Sofian
Takouche or Takouche.
Sofian Takouche. So he says, whenever you enter the ring as Sofian Takouche and you take a right hand off Josh Warrington, turns into Lee Evans. It was fucking brilliant. Just the way he walked away from one of the right hands. He got sat.
Yeah, that was class. Yeah,
he goes sat on his arse and he kind of stood back up again and he kind of walked forward, pointing about that kind of animated way and stuff. It was quite funny. But yeah, I mean, it's good, quick turnaround the fights and stuff. I mean, I dare say he'll be back out again probably February, March next year and stuff. But I'll just touch on upon what I mentioned last week and stuff. Is it's unification fights we want to see Josh getting, and as I say, politically at the minute it's just tied up it. So it's clear that he's probably just going to go through doing the IBF list at the minute and just kind of chib away at it. He might want to take some non-title fights, possibly. That might be a possibility. He might want to look at maybe just, if he somehow gets maybe on a Tyson Fury card, maybe he can go up to 130 as a kind of non-title fight for a 10-rounder, for example, keep his title safe, just a kind of tick-over fight, yeah. And then kind of come back down for the summertime, maybe make a title defence and stuff. Maybe against Jack Tapora, who I think I mentioned last week as well, the Filipino guy. So he may be next in line for Josh Warrington. So yeah, I mean, there's that possibility, but obviously again, probably the title defence is going to sell more tickets, means more money for him and stuff. Again, as I say, unless he gets a good payday in America. But as I say, I wouldn't kind of rule out a non-title fight because I think it's a real possibility at this point.
Well, one thing we don't want to fucking see is Kid Galahad too.
No chance.
I mean, what are the IBF playing at doing that?
So who sees a final eliminator against who again?
Is it Tapora or something like that? Let me go quickly. Yeah,
that's not an easy fight for Galahad, mate. I mean, listen, if it's a final eliminator to face Warrington, and I says, sorry,
no, it's not. It's
no?
Claudio Marrero.
Oh, there's a fucking joke. There's a guy in the top 10.
How is right? So Galahad is 7, Marrero is 8, and they are fighting a final eliminator. How is that even possible? What is wrong? Why is number 3 Tapora not being considered, or number 5 Nyam Bayar? Or
there
6,
he goes. Mayaro actually got beat off Nyam Bayar 2 fights back or something. Got beat up in points, and yet Nyam Bayar sitting 5th or 4th, whatever it is.
How is that even?
Nyam Bayar's a beast.
I mean, what the fuck are they? Yeah,
representation.
What the fuck are they playing at? Who wants to see Josh Warrington Kid Galahad too? Nobody. Fuck me. What an awful fight that would be.
Eddie?
They wouldn't put that back on. They couldn't put that back on TV. Like, fucking hell, we'd watch that.
I think Warrington had shut the belt. I think he'd just go up in weight before fighting Galahad again. And it's not because it's just because Galahad's got a god awful style. And it will be an expensive fight to put on that. Galahad doesn't sell a ticket. It'd be absolute garbage. And I mean, it just epitomises a governing body now that this Marrero who lost to the IBF number 5 is now in a final eliminator. How does that even work? I have absolutely no idea.
Money.
Well, Galahad doesn't
sanction fees, baby.
Oh yeah, but Galahad doesn't bring any money to the party, though, does he?
Yeah, but his promoter will pay the sanction fees, won't he? Though for the put the to make it a final eliminator. Like they couldn't get a rematch.
I'll do a GoFundMe then to pay the IBF, not to sanction this fight and call it off. I'm sure we'll get enough people to chuck a few quid in to stop this, right, mate?
It's shocking, like absolutely shocking.
Well, not these main bastards, because they won't even buy the fucking Patreon. Not these sour.
Well,
gets.
The thing is, Oz, right? I mean, I suppose if 1 and 2 are currently vacant, so I would imagine that if these two would be fighting for the 1 and 2 spot, I would imagine, surely.
So, well, I don't. It must be. But I mean, if you're going to do anything, look, like Takush was called in as he's ranked 4, so he's your opponent. So why not Tapora and Nyambaya as your final eliminator, and then just call Galahad Marrero as an eliminator?
Well,
it wasn't a robbery. Warrington Galahad was not a robbery. So just because it's a close fight doesn't mean you put the loser back in straight away in a final eliminator. It shouldn't work like that at all. Absolutely bullshit.
I do know that Tapora and Nyambabar would cause serious questions at Galahad if that was ever called as an eliminator, and I would really. I mentioned that Nyambabar Warrington I think would be absolute warfare, and Tapora same measure. I mean, 24, hungry, undefeated, a lot of knockouts and stuff. And a Filipino southpaw. I mean, tell me, there's no many orthodox fighters going to be there actually for the Philippines. So again, he's a fighter that you'd want to avoid.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Rob, did you see anything of Josh Warrington last night?
Yeah, I saw the undercard fight with, what's his name? The guy that was fighting Amin. It was a good scrap. And I saw...
Arthur?
Yeah, Lyndon Arthur, yeah. Yeah, that was good. Well, it was good for the level that the two of them were at. But the main event, Warrington did what he had to do, man. Blasted him out of there. Guy never been stopped either, I don't think. Well, I don't know what caliber of opponent he'd been fighting up until now, but not much more you can ask for. Like, Warrington sells tickets to Leeds, crowds packed in, they'll come back and see him again. Do you know what I mean? He's just, whether they're just football fans or whatever, they come in and see him just knock someone out. So he put asses in seats again in Leeds. I think pretty much everyone's saying exactly the same thing. You want to see him in other title fights now. Nobody wants to see Galahad Warrington 2. Jesus, like, that was god awful. Even though I thought probably Galahad nicked it on the night, but he should have been probably penalised as well for holding. So that could have gone. It was just a fight nobody wanted to see again. I thought he kind of imposed his horrible style more on Warrington, but for that reason, even I just wouldn't want to see again. I don't think he deserves it. He got his opportunity. He chose to fight that way. Didn't pay off for him. He took a gamble, and now you lose, so nobody wants to see it again. So what the IBF are doing, who knows? I think it's down to certain promoters are going to pay the sanctioning fees, and that's the way the sanctioning bodies all work. It's no surprise we see it happening in front of our eyes with all of them. So if they're going that IBF route, that's what's going to happen. So I could see him going up as well. If there's a fight there with Santa Cruz at 130, I think he'd take it. I think he'd move up and take that fight. So that'll be an interesting one as well. But definitely going to see him out more, and the epitome of a guy after taking his opportunity. Unbelievable.
Jason Chuckrews in the chat talking about Matchroom Italy, or as Gabe might say, Gashroom Shittily. Talking to Gabe, we have a question in for you from Greg Cross over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Gabe, talking about the Canelo Kovalev fight. If Canelo is ripped at 175, does that confirm our suspicions? When we think of how Amir Khan looked at 160 and Mikey Garcia at 147, all fleshy, given it's not a natural weight, if Canelo comes in shredded, Gabe, going from 154 all the way up to 175, he then puts suspicious face emoji?
Yeah, possibly. I think that's kind of you have to realize too, when he was fighting in the lower weight classes at 154, he was always a much bigger kid than 154 pounds. Whenever his time at 154, he was really boiling down quite a bit. And then towards the end of his time there and up to 160 is only a small, fraction of a difference in terms of where he's going. So I would say he's probably been hovering around that weight limit for quite some time in terms of, maybe deciding where exactly would be kind of knowing a little bit more about what his training regimen looks like, how often he's in the gym, so on and so forth. But you kind of assume that he'd probably be somewhere pretty close to there, even for the time being. So I would tend to think if he's absolutely shredded, just ripped to the fucking gills, not necessarily, but I think it depends on how defined it would be to whether it would raise suspicions to me, because obviously as he goes up, he's going to be able to do less water weight removal. So just kind of a general outlook on that. If he shows up just ripped to the gills, I mean just chiseled out of stone, I would kind of have a little bit of suspicion about it. I think that's always going to be there a little bit with his past with clenbuterol abuse. So I think the suspicion's never going to go away completely, no matter what the guy does, unless he shows up at 200 pounds, 205 pounds, 210 pounds, and looks like a pretty gooey kind of guy. I really don't think anything besides that's going to take away that question. Being that he already is muscled, though, and he's fighting at a more natural weight, I would just suspect that we would see maybe a less defined version of him. But he is a big kid, so it's hard to say. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that idea. I don't really look at how if he's really shredded, then he has been. If he hasn't been, I would say the kind of defining thing that maybe would tell you more is to what extent. And I think a lot of that has to do with, when you see him at the weigh-in, a lot of guys look more chiseled then than they do during the fight because they've drained the water off. There's less matter, I guess I would say, in the way between the muscle that you're seeing at the weigh-in versus later on. So not necessarily, but I don't think that you're wrong in suspecting anything. Just because the natural inclination for most people is if he's cheated once, he's probably going to do it again if he can get away with it, or like he did last time, get a slap on the wrist for it. So I tend to not really think too much of it either way. Just kind of see what it looks like whenever the time comes.
I think I love Canelo, but in the past, but I think in the aftermath of this, there's always going to be a shadow over him. I think you're looking at a guy who at one stage they thought was too small for Golovkin when he was moving up to 60. They said he was too small for Golovkin, and they ended up ducking Golovkin and throwing the WBC belt in the bin rather than face him. And then all of a sudden, he's gone up to 68 like it's no thing, and now he's going up to 75 like it's nothing. You know what I mean? It's definitely questionable to me, I think, especially when you look at him earlier in his career. Already he's a little kid, but he didn't have that knockout power against guys like Ryan Rhodes and Matthew Hatton, where it took him, he laboured. So I think there is suspicions around El Canelo, but you probably don't get to be a $360 million contract holder without the gear in 2019.
Absolutely suspicions as far as I'm concerned. No suspicious activity on Friday night, final card of the weekend before we move on to the previews. Next week, Ulster Hall, Belfast. I watched pretty much most of this, was at work though, so I couldn't actually go to the show. Debuts for Rory Dalton, P.S. O'Leary, Paddy Donovan, he definitely looked the pick of them, training with Andy Lee, Conrad Cummings, Sean Duffy, Gary Cully turning into a good fighter, Lewis Crocker, didn't watch Terry Flanagan, Sean McComb went to 9-0, interestingly got dropped by a body shot by an unheralded Argentine, Mr. Rodriguez, so that could be interesting going forward. As for the main event, Jay Harris put on a really nice performance, got involved a little bit at times against Paddy Barnes, but he knew there wasn't any punch coming back, and it was a matter of time when he got Paddy to the body. Really give a good account to himself. Barnes went out on his shield, but he probably should retire now. Anthony threw in a question over on Twitter, Ozzy. He said, what do you make of Paddy Barnes? I feel he turned over a bit late, but gave his all trying to win a world title and didn't bother trying to pad his record so he can hold his head up high. He didn't try and stretch things out. I suppose we can be thankful for him for that, trying to get to 15-0.
Yeah, but I don't think you've got... Look, he turned over at 31. I think his aim was clear. I want to win a world title and make as much money as I can, as quick as I can, retire. So it was pretty straightforward, and I think just hanging around in the amateurs killed him, really. He's never looked good as a professional, to be honest. I mean, there's arguments that he got beat off that Silvio Altaneu in his third fight. I think the cards are a hell of a lot wider than they should have been. He stepped up against Rosales and was massively outclassed, found out to the body. He then stupidly boxed that guy who was like a massive super bantamweight, and got the shit kicked out of him in America. And then look, he's got an opportunity to come back against Jay Harris. I've been saying all fucking week that Harris was going to stop him, and then I got told that Harris was nursing a hand injury, so they potentially weren't going to risk it, and do us the hand up early, and then it would be a real hamper in the fight. Instead, it was basically round 3 was it was a brilliant round. They just teed off on each other, and Harris is a very good body puncher, and Barnes just can't take the shots. I thought at times as well, to be honest, that every time Harris hit Barnes, it looked like he was feeling the shots, and that's never a good thing. So, in terms of Paddy Barnes, yeah, he looked to win a world title as quick as in somewhat of a fairy tale fashion. Came up short, and I think it's fair to say that he needs to hang up the gloves for now. As for Jay Harris, quality operator, massive for flyweight, absolutely huge. And you've got 3 good domestic fighters now at that weight. You've got Andrew Selby, who's making a comeback now with MTK. You've obviously got a friend of the pod, Sonny Edwards, and Jay Harris, who's also been on the pod as well. So we always moan about not being able to see fighters getting the ring together. I think at these smaller weights there's not as many opportunities. So let's see it. Harris Selby, what a good fight for Wales that'd be. What a good fight that would be. European title on the line, probably swing some sort of eliminator for a world title as well. These fights need to happen, and I certainly think Harris and Edwards will take him. Will Selby, I'm not too sure. I mean, I watched interviews previously saying he wants huge money, or he needs to box these people for world titles. Well, why? Why not go and earn it? It doesn't matter if you get beat. You can bounce back. It's the manner in the way you get beat. If you roll over after a round, then people look at you and think, well, actually, is this guy all that? But you can get beat. Look at Jordan McCorry, for example. A bit different in terms of levels, but he put in a very good display against Sam Bowen, and then got the call to fight Archie Sharp. He then put in another good display against Archie Sharp, and then gets the call to fight Zelfa Barrett. So I always say records are for DJs, and we need to get these smaller guys in together now, because, look, they're going to be great fights.
Yeah, if they're making McGregor against Farouk, then hopefully they can get Selby and Harris in against one another. What have we got on for next week, Andy? Newcastle. This is right up your street here. Savannah Marshall on the undercard. John Doherty could be one to watch. Martin Bacoli fighting against a pudding. It's not a bad card towards the top end of things. Forget about Lawrence Okoli. It's all about Lawrence Suzuki, 9-0, going in against Ricky Summers. Ted Cheeseman, Scott Fitzgerald, British super welterweight title, and Lewis Ritson, 19-1 against Robbie Davis Jr., 19-1. They've managed to dig up a bit of beef, Andy, just in time for this one. A lot of people seem to be picking Robbie Davis Jr. to win, but I don't really rate either of them too highly, but I've never rated Davis, so I'm picking Ritson. What do you think, Andy?
Well, just like you, actually, I was going to ask if this was one with the fake beef. You just confirmed it there. That was the one I remember. It's just something behind the scenes or whatever it was. Fucking rat.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I dare say it's just one of those domestic scraps, I suppose. 50-50s. It's annoying with this fucking delay with you, Steve. You know
that. I'd rather see him in against Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy the Rat.
I get what you're saying. He's a talented guy.
But no, see, it'll be a good fight, 50-50. But I'm really looking forward to Cheeseman against Fitzgerald. Actually, I think that might be a wee bit of a war. Cheeseman probably, you know what he's like. He's going to bring it forward and stuff. Fitzgerald, for me, it's the question mark for Fitzgerald is he going to be able to top the Fowler performance? Because obviously he was well up for it. And hopefully he's going to continue that path and that, because obviously there was question marks about him beforehand. but living the lifestyle and stuff. So I want to see where he's at. Actually, he's still undefeated in that British title fight as well. So yeah, I really look forward to that one. Ritson Davis, to be honest, mate, we were all high on Ritson for until he took that first L, and now we're all saying Davis is going to beat him. He moved up in weight as well. I don't know really. I'll sit on the fence with that one at the minute. It'll probably be in Newcastle if it's the closest fight. If it goes to the cards and that, I could see Ritson getting it. Like,
Rob, quick one from you on Ritson Davis, then Aussie, and we're going to get Aussie then after that on this Dubois Allen situation. First of all, Ritson Davis, Cheeseman, Fitzgerald, Rob.
I'll give you a very quick one on Ritson versus fucking Robbie Davis Jr. on a Saturday night. Could I give a fuck about that fight? Absolutely no. I couldn't give a shit who wins that fight. I don't care for either of them. I don't think either of them are going to go on and do anything. So, just being brutally honest, I'm probably not going to watch that one unless I pick up the highlights somewhere. Cheeseman and Fitzgerald, though, I'd be forever grateful to Fitzgerald for his terrific W over CBD killer Anthony Fowler. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. Cheeseman will put it up to him, I think. So it'll be a good little scrap. I don't know who'll come out on top, to be honest with you. Probably slightly favour Fitzgerald, but yeah, that's going to be a good scrap. All right, I'll watch that one.
Final one to you, Aussie, before we get Gabe in on Gvozdyk Beterbiev.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Fitzgerald, Cheeseman. Scott's changed his training camp. He's back with Michael Jennings now. I always felt that had he been with Jennings for the Fowler fight, I would definitely have picked him. Obviously, the move away, I wasn't too sure then, but he still came up trumps. From what I've seen, he looks excellent again. They've had some very good sparring, and I think Cheeseman's pretty man-made for Fitzgerald. Doesn't really move his head. He's there to hit. Fitzgerald's a quality operator. I think we always forget how well he did as an amateur. He won a Commonwealth gold. I think he'll take a hell of a lot from that Anthony Fowler fight. And I think this is going to be another standout performance for him. And an impressive win tomorrow night will really give his profile and platform an extra lift. So yeah, I think I wouldn't be shocked if Fitzgerald can get Cheeseman out of there, to be honest. As for the main event, I'm going to side with Robbie Davis Jr. In this. I think Robbie's the better boxer. Ritson's good when he has it his own way, and I think if he can weather the storm early on, he'll be absolutely fine. I remember watching Ritson against that Benitez guy at the Copper Box, and he got tagged a hell of a lot, far too much. I mean, he boxed some random Pole last time out who wasn't very impressive. As for Davis Jr., he had that he had that close fight with Joe Hughes, which I actually thought he lost. But you can learn from that. Look, it's a good fight. You've nothing against it. Is there any belts on the line, actually? Is the European title on the line, or is it anything? I thought Davis Jr. was the champ at that. Maybe. I thought he won that. I have no idea. Anyway, look, a belt's not needed to make a good fight. It is exactly what it is. Many will see it as a coin flip. Yeah, I'm just swaying towards Davis Jr. But look, if Ritson can win, it's a very good win for him. The rest of the card, I don't really have much time for. It's a bit disappointing. They announced, obviously, the Cheeseman and Ritson fight straight up. I saw they've got the Lawrence Asuki against Ricky Summers in a British eliminator for the light heavyweight title. And then they've shoved Martin Bacoli on and like Savannah Marshall, because people are going to flock to see these people if they were debating making the journey to Newcastle. So after what was a promising start for them, it's a bit disappointing in the end, really. But the top two fights, which Cheeseman and Ritson, I'm really pleased with and looking forward to, and particularly Cheeseman Fitzgerald, I think that'll be a cracker.
Yeah, not sure about the British title situation, but Davis vacated the European. It's been won by a Spaniard since. I think Scarpa might have been involved as well at some point, but there's no titles registered on Boxrec anywhere, which is a shame.
See, I don't understand that. Why would you just vacate that European title? It's a prestigious and worthy belt to hold. That why would you just chuck something away like that? What's the point?
Not sure. I'll have to look into that one. Gabe, let's go stateside before we go on to the Bellew of the Weeks and finish up for episode 344. Only 2 fights of any interest on this top-ranked card. Suppose that's just the way it is. They're filling dates, aren't they, Mr. Bob Arum? Luis Collazo should be an interesting test for this. Kudratio, Abdu Kazorov, me and Andy keeping an eye on him. He's 16-0, had some good wins. If he can get past Collazo in an impressive fashion, then he will hopefully be moving on towards titles. It's all about the main event though. Alexander Gvozdyk, 17-0. Puncher can box a little bit against the brute raw strength and aggression of 14-0 Artur Beterbiev. WBC is on the line, IBF's on the line as well. Gvozdyk won his title off Adonis Stevenson. Beterbiev, I think he beat Coling, and then he defended against guys since. I'm going for Beterbiev in this one, Gabe. I think Gvozdyk is a good fighter, he can punch hard, but he's maybe a little bit vulnerable. I'm going for Beterbiev in round 8. Am I off my head, Gabe?
No, absolutely not. I'm going with the same vote on this one. I just don't think that Gvozdyk is going to be able to stand up to what Beterbiev brings to the table, and I think in the end his power is going to be telling, and I think that's going to be the big decider in this fight. I mean, there's always the off chance that we could be wrong. I just don't feel like Beterbiev is going to be as durable over the course of the fight. I mean, I feel like there's not a whole lot in terms of things that you can say, well, this is going to be the defining factor that causes this man to win or that man to win. But it's more of just after having seen some of the stuff that they have done over time, I feel like it's really kind of hard to say. It's not a really clear Gvozdyk pick for me, but I just don't feel like Beterbiev is going to in the end have enough to keep up, and I think he's going to go down late, possibly go 12. But I think Beterbiev is going to be hurt at some point. So I don't know. I'm really not that thrilled about this fight, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, I'll definitely watch it, but neither guy is really high on my list of people that are top watches, in my opinion, and that's more of just a personal preference on what I like to see. But it should be a good fight. On paper, it is a good fight. Hopefully, it turns out to be as good in reality as it should be on paper, because you have two really, higher level guys in the division. So that's kind of what I feel about it. Seems pretty fair to me.
The boys in the chat getting stuck into this one. Rob, Jason says Adonis Stevenson on his last legs was beating Gvozdyk. Not so sure towards the end if he was. Early on he had a bit of success. Gvozdyk has a lot of heart, says Take Ames. Tosh is going for Gvozdyk though. He says Beterbiev going down. He can't fight anyone going backwards. That's if Gvozdyk can back him up. And Jason says the Ukraine always molest the Russians in boxing. Case in point, Usyk versus Garcia.
I don't know, it's a toss-up. Gvozdyk's obviously coming on strong, showing he can punch a bit. Can Beterbiev take it when Gvozdyk puts it on him, or will he have too much technically for him? I don't know. Either way, it's a good winner, right? If the winner fights Bivol next, you can't be mad at either fighter fighting either of them. It's going to be a close fight, I think, but I'm going to slightly edge with Gvozdyk.
Slight edge with Gvozdyk there from Rob Aussie. Johnny Clash says Beterbiev has looked dog shit against average opposition. I don't particularly rate Beterbiev that highly. I don't think he's a good technician, but he seems like a bit of a simpleton who's hard to deter. He'll just keep coming, and I think at some point he will catch Gvozdyk, and I do think Gvozdyk is slightly vulnerable. That's why I'm going with Beterbiev by knockout.
Well, I would agree with that. I think he's looked largely disappointing against built substandard opposition. But then there is that argument of, is it a case of, is he just struggling for motivation? And look, he's still knocked every one of these opponents out. I don't think we can gauge too much from the Callum Johnson fight. I know he was dropped from that. But again, what did it go? 3 and a bit rounds, something like that. Gvozdyk will certainly ask questions of him that he's probably not been asked before in terms of... in recent fights anyway. Likewise the other way around as well. But I'm going to side with Gvozdyk. I think he's looked the better fighter recently. And I think he will. I don't think he'll get him out of there, but I think he'll win a points decision. But I think he may well hit the deck in doing that as well.
All on the line to you then, Andy, down for the predictions. Me and Gabe have gone for Beterbiev. Rob and Ozzy have gone for Gvozdyk. Who's getting your vote?
Gvozdyk for me, mate. I'm going that route as well. I just think probably recently on activity, I'll go with Gvozdyk. I agree with you. Beterbiev fights one way and it's straightforward. And I forget the name of the guy in the chat who mentioned it and stuff like that. He has looked not so much average in that. He just... Again, it might be the opposition thing and stuff, but against, like, say, Coling, for example, he's just kind of like... I thought it was just a kind of struggle, the whole fight. Okay, he marched forward and he finally got the stoppage and stuff, and he dominated him basically the whole night. But I suppose we're kind of like putting too much emphasis on him actually as well, because some people are giving Usyk shit for last night. Then maybe I'm giving Beterbiev shit for the Coling fight. It's the right fight to be made at this point. It's probably the winner of this fight will become... Well, I know people will put Kovalev number 1, but some people actually forget that Gvozdyk is actually the lineal champ. I can just throw that word out there, lineal champ, in the light heavyweight division. So technically, this is the fight to be made. I'm going to say Gvozdyk is going to win it on points, probably something like 116, 112. I just think he'll do the better work, better box and stuff. But make no doubts about it. Beterbiev is a strong animal, a man. Honestly, God, I remember there was one video he put out on Instagram. One of the big heavy duty barbells, and it was like something like 30-40 pounds, and he's twisting it round about on his wrists and stuff. It was fucking incredible to watch. So his power's not to be underestimated. He is a legit power puncher, but Gvozdyk can bang as well. I just think activity, freshness, and probably just again opposition. Okay, maybe Stevenson was probably the best fight he's faced and stuff like that, but Beterbiev for me at this point, but is he 35? So he's fought like once a year for like the last 5-6 years or whatever it is. I just think it's like been a career of waste. Obviously he's had the legal problems and that as well. So maybe this is going to be his coming out party. He's going to step up and do the business. But it's a great fight. One I'm really looking forward to. It's one I might even stay up to sit and watch actually through the early hours. So we'll wait and see. But at the minute, Gvozdyk on points for me.
Yeah, hi God Plodder in the chat's asking about Teddy Atlas. I do believe that he is still with Teddy Atlas, and Gvozdyk is really invested in Atlas as a trainer, so that's something to keep an eye on. Just before we go over to Ozzy for his Dubois Allen rant, a final one for you, Gabe, on this fight, just very briefly if you can. Who do you think Bob Arum would like to win out of this one? Because I know they're both of his fighters, he's putting them together, but they are, even like when Frank Warren put Dubois and Gorman together, they have an idea, don't they, about which guy he's going to come out on top, even though they're going, yeah, it's a 50-50 and blah, blah, blah. They have someone out the two that Bob will be thinking, I need him to win, or I hope he wins, or he's the better prospect going forward. Who do you think Bob Arum would prefer to win out of Gvozdyk, Beterbiev, Gabe?
Man, that's a really tough question. I think I would need a little bit of time. I don't want to go on too long on this one. Man, I don't have a good answer. Trying to think about which guy would maybe be a little bit more, marketable, or which one maybe has a little bit more time left in the game, but they're really close in age. I think maybe Gvozdyk is a year or two older, or vice versa. There's not a lot of age separation there. I don't know that either guy's more marketable than the other one. I really don't. That's a solid question, really tough. It may be a case where I'll go. My final answer is he has an idea but either way, he wouldn't be dissatisfied with any result, because either way, you've got a built-in fan base with either person, and so having either guy win probably wouldn't be devastating. And I mean, we all know the sport of boxing is all about the promoters anyway doing what the fuck they want to do. So even if his guy that he has in mind loses, he's still probably got a backup plan on how he can approach it and turn this all around and make it what he wants to be. So a non-answer, final answer, non-answer.
Gvozdyk. Yep, non-answer from Gabe. The guys in the chat just saying there are thinking that Gvozdyk will probably be the pick of the two because he's friends with Lomachenko. Yeah, Beterbiev has some kind of strange promotional agreement. Is he really with Top Rank? He was with PBC for a while trying to get rid of Yvonne Michel. It's a bit strange. I'd say Gvozdyk out the two would be their preference. Yeah, still with the Canadian promoter. Sorry, just reading the chat as we're going along there. Go on then, Ozzy. Before we go on to Value of the Weeks, Sean Roberts, I think it is, over on Twitter has called for you to let rip on Dave Allen against Daniel Dubois. The floor is yours.
Well. The White Rhino has returned from his social media ban, self-inflicted ban. He's back. Eddie has got rid of him, and now it's time to move on to Frank. And why is that? After being fearsome and said he was scared of David Price, he now wants to go into the ring with Daniel Dubois. What planet is this guy on? Why does he fear? I mean, he fears David Price. Daniel Dubois will obliterate him. I tell you, Dubois could have blood on his hands. It could be this. It will be a painful watch. I mean, Alan, where do you even go with him? Will he even train? Will he not? Is he just doing it for another payday? I mean, he's using the excuse now of, well, journeymen do it, so why can't he? Yeah, but journeymen are tucking up for 4 rounds and then moving on to the next one, not getting their head pummeled for the next, like 8-10 rounds, not training and things like that. Journeymen actually have skills and they can box. So it's just, well, the fight will happen. I just know it will. I know it's coming. The struggling for opponents for Dubois because people want fortune. And look, for Dubois, it's probably, in terms of a name, it'll probably be his biggest win. Not through ability, but in terms of name and somebody having a profile, then Allen's probably right up there. And if he can go, look, Frank said straight away it gives him a gauge. If he can go and blast Allen out, quicker than like Ortiz, Dillian White couldn't get him out of there, then it's, like another story to portray. But somebody needs to put her arm around Dave Allen and just ask what he wants from the sport, because, regardless of, look, it's a very dangerous sport, and you just can't take shots like he does. This arm of defence of just using your head is just pathetic. You can't do that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Look, I think we'll see it in December time. He'll probably quit on his stool, come back, say whatever, he had a splinter or something like that, and he's going to be. We'll end up seeing like Dave Allen 7.0 or the White Rhino returns again or something like that coming out of captivity. It's just he's a fighter that will never go away. And look, he's potentially got another 3 paydays now. Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, and Nathan Gorman. So he's laughing, and each payday will buy him another property. So he's a smart guy, knows what he's doing. Well, I say smart. Smart from a financial perspective, but not very smart when he can't block these shots. And look, Dubois won't take any prisoners, and Allen's going to be there to hit. And I think it'll be 2 rounds max, and I think Allen will be completely wiped out from it.
Oh, the guy's going to get hurt. I got to agree with you. This is a terrible idea. Somebody needs to do something, because he's going to get fucking obliterated, and he's going to end up getting hurt. And then all this goddamn money and whatever it is he's doing with it ain't going to make a hill of beans, because he won't be able to enjoy a lick of it, being in a vegetative state or worse.
I agree. I completely agree. And I'm just reading this chat now, and I think it's Jason Chuckwoo. I said from a profile perspective, nobody really knows who Nathan Gorman is. Dave Allen has a massive profile. He's one of the biggest, probably one of the bigger names in British boxing, Dave Allen, in terms of people knowing him and selling tickets for certain shows and things like that. So regardless of what he's done he's not done anything noteworthy in the ring. This guy's never contested for a Central Area title, but he's earned more money than guys who'll probably win a British title has from the sport. So in terms of profile, then Allen's a much bigger name than Gorman, miles bigger. And Gorman realistically only became into the more casual eye when the fight with Dubois was made. So, like I said, I mean, I think this will happen. I do think this will happen. And look, if he's cleared to fight, if the board clear him to fight, then it's going to happen, isn't it? There's only the board that can stop this from happening, because look, Allen's operating at whatever. They'll use it as a defence for as the British title. I mean, I don't want to see it happen. I think it's a step backwards for Dubois. I think he's a hell of a lot better than him. I would have took the fight 4 fights ago. Allen came back and said he wanted like 120,000 or something like that. Ludicrous money he wanted for like an English title defence or something like that. But if it happens, so be it. But it ain't going to end well. And Gabe, you're right. He could end up like a cabbage. He could end up cabbaged. He'll take that many shots. And like I said, we've seen Dubois. He is a vicious puncher and he hits hard. And like I said, if you stand in front of him, he's not going to end well.
So Ozzy, just before we go on to Value of the Weeks, this isn't set in stone yet. It's just been strongly talked about. No. It's certainly not set in stone. But I think reading between the lines, why would BT give him the airtime to talk about a potential fight? You're not just gonna, like say for example, Sam Sexton could have been in the crowd last night, but they're not going to take cameras to Sam Sexton if he starts calling out somebody, are they? There's a reason Alan was ringside last night. There's a reason the BT cameras were with him, and there's a reason that IFL TV and Boxing Social are all talking about the fight with Frank and Dave in interviews. Frank's openly spoken about it already. It solves problems in terms of, the struggling for opponents. I know they actively wanted Christian Hammer next. That's proving a problem to make at the moment. More from Hammer's side, apparently. I think they were looking at Charles Martin, but again, I think he's happy in America. So if they want to keep Dubois active and busy, and if Allen's there, I think they're going to take the fight. I think they will take the fight. So it's certainly not set in stone, but I'll be amazed if this doesn't happen. Okay, boys, let's move on. We've had a couple of questions in from Ross Phillips and Ted Barrett. I think I'll defer them till next week, gentlemen. Throw them into the chat during the week. Get the boys all pumped up for that. Rob's still with us, so is Gabe, Ozzy and Andy, with me, Steve. Episode 344. On to the Value of the Weeks then. First nomination coming in for Bieber. Not only are they sanctioning Sakio Biku against Nigel Benn, but Gianluca Di Caro sent out a press release this week. Storm Lorenzo may have been creating havoc across the UK on Saturday, but even that could not stop the fans in Aberdeen turning out in force to support local hero Lee McAllister in his quest to become a 6-time 5-division world champion on his 37th birthday. I think it was the WBU or the WBF variety. Congratulations to you, Lee McAllister, still winning world titles.
Was no the heavyweight title as well?
No.
Yeah, he won a heavyweight title, did he not? He did. I'm fucking certain he did.
I believe you, but I mean, I don't know what to say about that. This is the guy who was fighting at lightweight at one point.
Yeah.
There you go, first one for Bieber. Trading Leather Boxing is on about the YouTube fight that's catching the world by storm. This YouTube fight is causing me to have sleepless nights. I can't even describe how much this whole shit show is AIDS. I nominate Eddie Hearn for getting on with it. The whole thing is a joke, and it's on pay-per-view. Going to be full of 11-year-olds watching through their phones, says Mr. Leather Boxing. Juan Cucao was nominated by Aaron McKenna, responding to an Andre Ward video. This is the only clip they show of him. He is overrated as hell. Cruiserweight division in his time was a joke. Yeah, he wasn't even a cruiserweight. Gary Lockwood has nominated himself for Bellew of the Weeks. I bought tickets for the Matchroom show on October the 26th because I was intrigued by Del Boy versus Parker. Now I have to endure Del Boy versus Price, which would have been okay 5 years ago, but it's utter shit now. I've had a mare, says Gary Lockwood. Toby has nominated TJ8488 for agreeing with Tyrone Spong over his VADA testing, saying that Usyk didn't want to risk one of those hooks with the power. Ozzie Smith has nominated Sergio Mora. Mora was bigging up Chaz Witherspoon ahead of his opportunity at the weekend. Opponent pobbed for PEDs, tick. Unheralded replacement steps in, tick. Opportunity of a lifetime, tick. He then went on to compare it to Ruiz, Joshua. They'll use that for time immemorial, won't they now? Saying that, oh, it could happen, Ruiz upset Joshua, justifying these mismatches. Yeah, I'm just seeing that there now. Andy's absolutely right. Lee McAllister is finished now after winning a world title at heavyweight, so congratulations to you, Mr. McAllister. I think it's WBU. Looks like it on the photo anyway, WBU. Chad Hogan has nominated Kevin Barry for saying that Holyfield beat Lennox Lewis both times. He's also nominated Clarissa Shields, talking about ghetto stereotypes in response to her incident last week. Logan Paul could be heavyweight champion in 4 years, says trainer Shannon Briggs to The Independent. He's been nominated for that one. Lennox Lewis was having a bit of beef with Paddy Barnes. Paddy said something about not having a clue. Lennox said, last time I checked, I'm the only one between the two of us who's got an Olympic gold medal. Burn. Judas nominated him for that one. Prince Patel has been nominated by Liam Wynn. My mom was very happy to see the African title. Now I'm working on bringing her a world title to go with it. Hashtag boxing, hashtag boxio, hashtag winner, hashtag Africa, hashtag champion. Prince Patel with the hashtags there. I'm going to have a brief sip of water here. Rob, if you've got any nominations, throw them in now.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple. Got a good one though. Ryan Garcia. What kind of a wet blanket of a fucking prick is this little shit? What a little worm, like. I don't want to say too much about him because I don't want to upset the Latina fan base. But this little fucking sculptured eyebrows Instagram poser who's negotiated his fucking contract on the internet with his ma involved and thrown Oscar under the bus when nobody fucking heard of him before Golden Boy has been allegedly involved in a love triangle. So he's upset that the baby mama allegedly has slept with some guys in the entertainment industry while he's gone out with someone else. And she screenshotted some of his texts. She screenshotted some of his texts during the week, right? And here's what he's trying to emotionally blackmail her because she's allegedly slept with someone. And he said, I'm crying as I type this, but I guess I'm going to have to just bathe in these tears. I can't believe a girl like you would cross me like that. And you're one saying, stop getting your girlfriend to beat me up. Tell your man to leave me alone. What a little shit, like. Absolute little prick. However much a good fighter he may turn out to be, and I do think he is the goods as a fighter. What kind of is this? What we're fucking promoting in 2019? This kind of aura as a fighter? Fucking hell, man! Jake LaMotta, all the fucking great fighters will be spinning. This little prick is sending text to a woman that he's not even with, crying because she's with someone else, bathing in tears as he boards his flight. What a fucking muppet! Absolute prick.
Rob,
So
I'd agree
he's the
with you.
winner for me.
I would agree with you. Apart from like he's maybe the goods that he's getting chinned the first time he steps up in class. By the way,
Well, I will look forward
Davis,
to it.
right now, Gervonta Davis fucking flatlines him.
I would welcome it. And another thing, Ryan Garcia, shut that soft ass shit up. You're fucking baiting in tears, little prick, yeah. And Wilder as well, man. Wilder has to get one this week because he did an interview with Radio Raheem, and he said again about Jack Reese that Jack Reese was counting for so long because he was invested in Tyson Fury's story, and so were all the judges. And that's the only reason that he didn't get the decision, because he didn't win the fight. He was knocked out, and they didn't count him out on purpose because they were invested in his mental health story. It was all a big conspiracy against him. So get over it, as McGregor said to Malnazi when he was going, "Where's your balls, Conor? Get over it."
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Rob Kelly bringing the impressions on a Sunday evening. No hay to Dave Lowe back this week to bring any. We'll get to Andy shortly on his nominations. Before we do so, let me throw out a few more of my own. No Context Smiggers Titties has nominated Michael Buffer. Thanks, Apple, for totally ruining my iPad with your horrible upgrade. Buffer, if it even is him, might be somebody else, some intern or something going on at Apple there. David Hay has been nominated by Richard Lodder. Lawrence Okoli has a better chance than Usyk at heavyweight. David Hay's controversial predictions. Hayes trying to stay in the limelight, I think, isn't he? Coogan Cassius has been nominated. No, in fact, it was Evan was nominated. Coogan said, my extended 1 hour and 9 minute interview with Eddie Hearn in Chicago on life, changing the world we live in. Evan said, we'll keep this for later once the kids are in bed. Peace and quiet needed for these legendary interviews. Richard Lodder nominated him for that. Anthony Bellew, formerly known as Tony, looking forward to seeing you all at the Liverpool Empire on January the 12th. Media tickets are now available at atgtickets.com. New event, see Tony the Bomber Bellew live. He just wants to be left alone, says Economics. Leave him alone, Andy. Any nominations from you?
Absolutely. Del Boy Chisora basically forced to come out with, I don't know if it was Instagram or on Twitter and that, basically saying that, for a point of doubt, Frank Warren isn't one of my list of debtors. I just like to chat shit sometimes. I could just imagine Frank Warren phoning up the lawyers and stuff like that, like Monty Burns, release the hounds. Fucking,
yeah.
Who come the
I definitely didn't get a solicitor's letter before I'm saying this, making a statement. I definitely did not receive a legal letter, but Frank Warren doesn't owe me no bread.
Fucking. So what happens? Frank Warren's fucking lawyers come out of the hill like fucking William Wallace's troops, by the way, cock locked, ready to rock, man. No Vaseline, Del Boy.
Yeah, and then the day before, it was like, tell Frank Warren to give me my money, yeah. And then the next day, it was like, we got to be honest, man. We got to be honest, yeah. We got to be honest.
Fuck, Frank owned that shit pretty quick, eh?
Yeah.
Tremendous. And Del Boy, and I actually want to according to reports anyway, he seems to be fine and just dandy. So can we throw in Errol Spence at this point? Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Okay, can we take that shit on? Yeah. I mean,
holy shit!
Holy
man.
Fuck, man!
Well, forget about fucking Graziano, because somebody up there likes Errol Spence. I'll tell you that much, because he wasn't supposed to live through that one. Like,
listen. I'm talking from personal experience now. My missus bought me a car experience, right? Supercars and stuff like that. I've drove an Aston Martin, a Lamborghini Murcielago, and a Ferrari. Right, something fucking similar to what fucking Errol Spence was driving. Right, let me tell you something. So you change gears in the bitches, by the way, it gives you more power. It's like it's wanting to gravel up more road, want to kill you. Fuck, man, how the fuck? They say seatbelts save lives. People are actually saying that it's a mere fact that it wasn't wearing a seatbelt saved his fucking life. I mean, I looked at that video numerous times. I said, where the fuck did they eject from? Is the car go?
I should have said that to that fucker.
James Bond.
I should have said that to the fella that done me with the fucking penalty points there last year.
I mean, fuck. I mean, somebody obviously loves him, by the way, but if he fights again off the back end of this and he's all he's got is a few scratches and stuff like that guy's Bruce Willis for that fucking film, Mr. Glasgow. What's his name again?
I don't know if it's going to Unbreakable. I don't know if it's
Unbreakable. Aye, fucking hell.
I don't know if it's going to end well for him though, because there's rumours that he's going to be hit with a DUI or something, isn't it? Yeah. So
well, there's been rumours
that's not going to be good.
If that happens, that's bad news. And he was talking about, I don't want to crash weight like I did for the Porter fight. And if it's true, he's out in the club hitting the henny, and then he's out.
He's been seen in a couple of interviews too on the sauce, hasn't he? Like,
I mean,
a little pack of Stella.
Again, as I say, the cars go from 0 to 60 in what, 2-3 seconds. He must have been going about, well over 150. Must have been.
You see the car coming down the street like fucking Die Hard, flipping over like, and he's after surviving that with just a broken tooth or something. He's fucking blessed. He should be dead.
Blessed. I tell you what, man, he'd be better just fucking giving his money to charity and that, man, and just go on a fucking mission somewhere to Africa and help people, because his calling has arrived, right? That's really good. See if I woke up with that and all I says was fucking a few scratches and that. I'd be shocked, man, because think about it. You've come out the fucking roof of a sports car at 150 miles an hour. Like, fucking rocket, man.
He's definitely
You've only got a few scratches, for fuck's sake. Come on, think about it.
That definitely puts him further up the pound for pound list.
Fucking hell. How the fuck did you survive that?
I have no idea, dude. Like, to say that he was ejected and the car must have missed him then, because it's fucking flipping down the road like it's like a fucking James Bond film. Like,
see, before that car came into the shot of the camera, he must have got ejected before then.
yeah,
Because
that's
I've
what
been
I'm
at
saying.
it. I've watched it like 1,000 times. I says, where has he landed? Where's he come out? Fucking hell! I was just meant to be like, see, like, scoot across the like fucking Evil Knievel, like on his arse. Going,
Yeah, he survived that
That
one
was
like he's
good.
one of the fucking Avengers or something. Like, the fucking car skims past his head on his fucking hurtling through the sky. Jesus
or like
Christ.
Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon, and that hanging on the back end of a fucking trailer with a bit of table and a bit of parton and that there. Like, fucking Jesus Christ, Aussie man,
spreads.
help us out.
Even more impressive if he was on the sauce.
I was going to say, do we want to hear Derek grovelling to Frank? I've got the
Yes.
recording now.
Yes, please
Right,
do.
so hopefully this works.
Nothing coming through, mate.
Crying like a
Listeners are
little
going to kill us
bitch.
this week with the delays. And oh, they're going to really chill. What's with the delays? What's
Crying
with
like a
the
little bitch.
Timestamp that there.
He,
2 hours, 5.
Frank
Six.
definitely had the lawyers on the phone as soon as he got wind of that and basically
aye.
said, Derek, I don't owe you any money, but you'll be owing me a lot of fucking money if you don't. Yeah, that's right.
The hounds were
And,
released, baby.
he's handed Del Boy another L there, and he's grovelling straight away, saying, "Oh no, it was me chatting shit again." So yeah, a huge L for Del, without a doubt. Funny for Frank as well. I can't believe how quick he's acted. That must have been in within like 3 hours of it happening.
I know, and Dell backs down for nobody to apart from Big Frank. Release the hounds! Smithers, release the hounds!
Smido, release the lawyers.
He must have been infuriated. If he acted that quickly, he must have been fucking snapping in the office, man. Oh, fucking hell, fucking strap me up. Fucking Chisori, you fuck.
Frank looked like Alan Brazil. Fucking raging. Yeah, but Ryan Garcia, like, if you want to vote for me, Ryan Garcia would definitely be up there, but definitely Del Boy as well. What was the other one I put in there?
Errol.
Errol Spence. Errol Spence, man. I mean, come on. That's just... You know that insurance advert with Doug's driving the car, and it just pulls up somewhere, like, and then there's no accident, it says, that's lucky. Well, that was more than fucking lucky, by the way. Jesus Christ.
Spence,
I mean, come on.
Spence the goal.
There is no insurance company in the world who's going to touch him now, by the way. He's like indestructible. He's like, he doesn't need fucking insurance. He'll fucking walk through walls, that bastard.
I give him the edge against Crawford after this.
Right, Ozzy, throw in what you were going to throw in, and I'm going to go back to my list again.
So we've got at Austin KP02. This is to at David the White R1. You've got big bollocks, great heart, a bastard of a punch, a granite chin, and even after all of that, you'll get a nice payday. As much as Dubois is hyped up, and rightly so, anything can happen in boxing. It wouldn't surprise me if you won. So these are the people that want a death wish on Dave Allen for a start saying bollocks like this. And then at DavyBoy9274 on Twitter, at Josh Warrington loves fighting in front of his home fans in Leeds, but imagine the venues Eddie Hearn would have put him in, and at the end of the day, it's all about the money. Leaving Matchroom was a huge mistake. Can Josh reach his full potential under Frank Warren? Well, Davey boy, Frank has done that bad of a job. He got him a world title. He headlined at Ellen Road. He then sold out the Manchester Arena against Carl Frampton, and he's on the verge of unifying a division. If that's all the promoter can do for you, then fuck me, you have high expectations. But as for Eddie, he'd probably have Josh fighting out in wherever, the back end of Kansas, on an undercard of Jesse Vargas, or opening the show at 4 o'clock on the Zone when nobody's there. But remember, it's all about the posh venues and not about the actual fights. Yeah, Matchroom Italy, how can we forget? Josh there, he'd be out there fighting whoever. What's his face? Devis Boschiero or something like that in the away corner. Taking the Leeds boys over there. So that's what Eddie's bargaining power will be. Come and headline for me in Italy. The stage is set for you, Josh.
Fucking hell, I watched the vacant Italian light middleweight title fight at the weekend. It was held in a fucking bingo hall. I kid you not. There was actually notices actually sellotaped to the fucking door.
Surely Big Tyson's getting one as well for going to the WWE. Not so much for going to the WWE.
Yeah,
wearing
I
that
think
fucking
Saudi Arabia
suit,
as well.
That fucking suit. He's had that suit on for the last 6 months, man. Come on, you're making money. Get that fucking suit changed up, for fuck's sake. Yeah. Sorry, Steve.
He needs to get some fashion advice off Floyd. What do you think, Rob?
Oh, Floyd with the grannies, fucking
Yes.
Balenciaga fucking robe, looking like one of the Golden Girls again. Like,
He looked like fucking Whoopi Goldberg in, what do you call that fucking film with the nuns again?
Sister Act.
Sister Act, that's the one. Fucking hell.
I can see,
that was bad.
well, I can see Tyson in one of those red bowler hats like Floyd wears as well.
Just like Betty White.
Right.
Steve catching
Let's
us
get a
with
few
delay,
more in
man.
then, boys. Right. I'm going to have to just jump in. I know it's coming to you like a message from the UFOs up in space, but I'm just going to keep talking now and hopefully it'll catch up with you eventually. Everybody in the chat listening to me. Gabe's still there as well. Let's get on with this then. Ryan Thomas has been nominated by Brian King, Fight Night champion. What do you reckon? He's made a Dave Allen Fight Night character. A few more here. Richard Lodder has nominated Richard Lee Riches, who said there's something fishy about the Ferrari accident. Brian King has nominated Baz's Boxing Bible, saying that Klitschko ducked Valuev. Clever Sithole has nominated Eddie Hearn for slagging off Tyson Fury. Rich Marotta has been nominated by Brian King. Just flying through them here now, everybody. Ted Barrett nominated Tom Hadwin, who says that Dubois is the real deal based on what Allen has fought and beaten better. I think Ozzy might have already read that one out earlier. Elliott has been nominated by Chad Hogan. This was a good one, actually. Everyone moaning about Dave potentially losing to Daniel Dubois. When was the last time you heard anyone mention Muhammad Ali's 5 losses or Oscar De La Hoya, etc.? So Dave Allen has 5 losses, but so did Ali, so did Oscar De La Hoya. Nobody talks about them. 88 Elliott 88 on Twitter, nominated by Chad Hogan. Yeah, Chad's thrown in a few more as well. Trading Leather Boxing. John O'Donovan, IFL Umar saying Dave Allen will be a step up for Daniel Dubois. Anybody else want to throw any in there before I get fed up now? We're going to have to finish up soon.
Yeah, let's finish up.
Right. I don't even know who I'm going for, to be honest. I think I'll go for Elliott 88 for saying that Dave Allen's got 5 losses. Who cares? Ali had 5 losses, so did Oscar De La Hoya. Who are you going for, Andy?
Ryan Garcia. What a wee bitch.
One for Garcia, one for Elliott. Rob, who are you going for?
It's got to be Garcia. Like, absolutely. I hope he's bathing in tears again when he gets Bellew of the Week. The little shit, like, bathing in tears. Oh, I guess I'll have to bathe in tears. Imagine texting that to a bird. Oh my god, in the air of the screenshot. Oh, I bet his ma's raging. Little dickhead.
That's 2 for Garcia. Gabe, is he going to be bathing in tears tonight with the Bellew of the Week award?
He sure as fuck is. He's got my vote.
That's 3 for Garcia. Pretty unanimous, Aussie. Yours isn't going to count, but throw it in anyway.
Well, I'm going to vote for that Pillock Elliott, who is trying to put Allen in the same bracket as De La Hoya and Muhammad Ali. I think this guy's probably got a similar sort of damage to what Allen's got, if he's thinking that.
2 for Elliott, not quite enough. 3 for Ryan Garcia. Congratulations, you are the Bellew of the Week for episode 344, Mr. Garcia. And that'll do it for this evening, gentlemen. Thank you for everyone who's jumped on. You just heard from Ozzie Smith there, Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, rapping Rob Kelly. We also had Al Siesta on earlier, fascinating interview. Hopefully get him back on as well in the future. And we had Carl Greaves, 2 great guests this week. We'll see you all again next week, episode 345. I've been Steve. We'll catch you all again. Bye.